Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Downtime with Downstar, episode 67. And today we are sitting down with Rob from Trac Tuff.
What's up?
Rob, thank you so much, man. I always say it, like, time is the only currency that we really have. Yeah. And for you to spend the 2+ hours driving down here just to have this conversation, I really appreciate it, man.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. But I've been following you on social media for, I'd say, at least the last year or two. It's been a little while, man, and yeah. I've seen the products that you're coming out with and the details that you focus on, and I've been intrigued, man. So let's tell everybody that's not familiar with you what you do.
So I guess the category that you'd stuff me into would be fabricator, and I know that a lot of people have that title now.
Yeah.
I don't really consider myself a fabricator like most people would think of the word. My product line is kind of narrowed down to a specific style of product, and it's what I do. I feel comfortable doing a lot of other things, but for the most part, it's welding aluminum.
Yeah.
I weld aluminum every single day, so I would say I'm maybe more a welder.
Yeah.
than I'm a fabricator, but I can get down, making stuff from scratch. Occasionally, I get the request for some odd, product or something. But yeah, it's cooling system parts, a lot of different billet water necks and things of that nature. And then tanks that are fabricated off of those billet parts. Make a couple of other items. The product line kind of used to be a more widespread. It was more of a diverse product offering originally, but over time, customers kind of seem to demand this one type of product. So the product line is kind of tapered inward towards that, and some of those more less known products have disappeared.
Got you.
Just don't really have time to market them, and maybe they were never really profitable in the first place. It was just making sure that when people sought me out on the internet, that they didn't arrive at a website with two things.
Yeah.
There was something it was worth visiting the site for. There were 13 items at first, and then it grew and just kept growing. So
got you. So is it mostly focused around the Honda Acura community?
As of right now, yeah. If it wasn't for the K series engine and being kind of an early adopter on that motor, I had my hands in that motor real early. I don't think I would have had the opportunity. It was getting to know something that nobody knew.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because the B series was belt driven, the K series was chain driven. People were really afraid of it. They didn't want to mess with it, and then the cost of entry was high. Like that I think was what kept most people away. But I was so interested in it because there wasn't anything known about it. So I invested a lot of time and energy in getting familiar with it, and then kind of gravitated towards the cooling system side because so many people were having issues with burping the cooling system after doing an engine repair or overheating at a track. So
oh, really?
Yeah, it was a very small part of the business. It was actually I was more interested in like oil control. Mm-hmm. A lot of track cars were experiencing engine failures as a result of not being able to keep oil around the oil pump.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, I guess just being in that group of people or around them, hearing some of the other issues that they were having, and it kind of caught my ear, and I knew a thing or two about it and decided to put a little bit of effort into that. And now the whole business is kind of shifted towards, cooling systems. So, I'm not going to fight it.
Yeah.
I have some really great friends in the industry that started their businesses doing one thing, and the customers support, their loyalty kind of shifted their focus to something else, and now they're just killing it. So
nice.
I hope to kind of take their lead and continue to do what I'm doing. So
definitely, man. It's the products that you come out with, they're very unique because I see a lot of them where they're even DIY kind of setups that you offer.
Yeah. So So the idea is, and I think that this is a great platform to announce this. I think a lot of people maybe think I created it, and in no way, shape, or form do I take that credit. This is a product that has existed for a long time. You generally only found it in like the upper echelon of like motorsports. You'd find them on real race cars, and not necessarily drag cars, but circuit cars, So taking a concept that was already mechanically sound and had a real purpose and making that fit my own personal cars, really at first, that was the only time that I would do it, is for myself.
Yeah.
And knowing that it solved multiple problems. And then I realized, like, why am I being stingy? I'm not sharing this with anybody. And I made a couple for friends that were having similar situations, issues with not being able to bleed it or an air pocket, always plaguing them as they were trying to, iron out all the details, making these cars ready for, the track. So, word of mouth was responsible for where I am now, and then obviously having the other things like social media, they became something people expected. So keeping up with that, I do a lot of custom stuff. There's like a core product line, I guess you would say, things that people kind of come to you for on a regular basis. Yeah. But lately, I think people really love the idea that they don't have to buy that cookie cutter combination. If they have a specific want or need, they can articulate that to me, whether it be through a phone call, an email, or a technical drawing, and I'll just work with them on delivering exactly what it is that they want. Yeah. And that's a lot of fun, because you get to try new stuff. I don't know too many people that like doing the same thing over and over and over. Yeah. So it keeps it fresh, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, working with this stuff and being able to really kind of put your name on it, knowing that this came from just a bunch of scrap pieces.
So where did it all come from? Where did the business even get started from?
So I wanted to be a business owner or get into business as early as 94.
Really?
Dead serious. Like, there might be a couple of people that are going to end up watching this that can vouch for it. I was really heavy, like into the sport compact car scene
back in 94.
Before there was really even a scene.
No way.
The very first car that I remember catching my interest was it was a little white Civic hatchback, and it was my senior year in high school. This guy had a bunch of stickers all over the thing, and I wasn't really exactly like hype on the sticker part, but it definitely got my attention. I'm like, why is this guy got stickers all over it? So it made me walk up to him and ask him some questions. And then the car was loud, and it was different loud. Like, I had hot rods, like domestics. I had a couple of like souped up air-cooled Volkswagens, and totally different sound. It sounded really annoying. It sounded angry, and I got to talking to this guy, and we talked more and more and more, and he brought me into this thing, this industry that hadn't even really become an industry yet. It was just an underground type of.
Yeah, in 94, that's crazy.
94, and then in 95, you started seeing more and more people getting into it. Product support was like non-existent. There was little to no product, and if there was, it was really high dollar imported stuff from other countries. So only a handful of shops. This is all like San Gabriel Valley. I grew up in La Puente, so you're talking like the end of the San Gabriel Valley and beginning of like the Inland Empire. Okay. You had shops like Skyline, Robocar. There was Han Motorsports, Pit Crew. Before Pit Crew, there was Cruising, and then there was Pocket Rocket. Wow. And all these shops were really kind of like grungy and dirty, and the hours were weird. They were wrenching till late at night, and it was a real interesting environment to be around. You know, like people were real friendly, and you just kind of got hooked. You know, so I was messing with cars mainly because I was the one guy that was capable. Like I could do pretty much anything anybody wanted me to do. And not a lot of that has to do with, like, say, education. It was more just the passion for it and getting into something that little to few people really knew how to do. So I was always turning wrenches, modifying cars, doing things that you could do because of the lack of product support. And cars just started kind of going faster and faster. More companies started embracing the industry, and more products became available. And there was always these moments where someone would come out with a product that maybe I thought of, where I was like, you know, like,
yeah,
dude, and me and my homies would look at each other like,
we should have did that.
Didn't we talk about that? And he's like, yeah, man, you should. And like, nobody ever sat me down and talked to me about how to start a business. That's why I really thought that was cool of you to put that out there. There's so much that you don't know about business, and the funny thing is it's not as scary as I think people initially think it is. It's just that there's just a lack of like steps, like the fundamentals, like what you need to do, and money's not so much the most important part.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I find that it's the drive that you have to have, and the hustle, and the want. You know, the willingness not to take no for an answer.
Well, sacrifice is probably. I think that's probably the number one thing. And I know when you're young and you're interested in maybe possibly starting a business, sacrifice is not the first thing you think of. Like people aren't going to do that because they are young. You know, you don't want to give something up to have something else. I mean, that's generally a lesson you learn later in life. Like, you know, there's pros and cons. You know, like for me at that time, I don't even know if somebody actually did break it down to me whether or not I would have followed their advice, because I was so young and so dumb that I might have just that information probably would have went right over my head. So the fact that, you know, you invite others to encourage people, you know, you hear it from multiple sources. Maybe that helps drive that message, because you're not just hearing it from one person, you're hearing it from multiple people. Multiple people are saying, hey, this is something that you can do. Yeah. You got to have a good concept, and you just got to be dedicated to it. You know, sacrifice. You've got to make the sacrifice. So, you know, seeing these things going on around me from 96 through 2000, I would say is about the time when I really started to think about, you know, what I would do if I was to have a business. But I was working for a number of well-known companies in the industry. The very first job I had in the sport compact car market was I worked for Diamond Bar Honda. They had a performance parts division, and I kind of managed that whole thing.
So what type of parts did they offer back then?
Anything that was like easy to install at a dealership that wouldn't necessarily like immediately void your warranty.
Gotcha.
So they wanted to offer the products that were, you know, attractive to the consumers, that they could even maybe, you know, roll into like a package for financing a vehicle.
Gotcha.
So it was the first of its kind. I know that there are a couple of dealerships that do that still today. But at that time, this is like 96, 97, we were doing like tons of AEM intake installs, exhaust systems. You know, if it wasn't pre-made, like big box type stuff from like HKS or Greddy, we probably wouldn't do it. I think we did some thermal research and development stuff. We dabbled in like Iceman intakes, but AEM was like the core intake brand. Jackson Racing, we installed a ton of superchargers because they were OE friendly. The dealership didn't mind doing the installs if it didn't impact the emissions. So
was that the thing? You could put anything on as long as it was carb legal?
Yeah, if it was carb legal or it had an executive order number attached to it, then you can come to us and we would install it. And we would word things kind of carefully. We weren't telling you that you could take your car to any dealership and they would honor your warranty if you had a problem.
Yeah.
What we were basically saying is that you bought the car here, you had the accessories installed here. We're not going to turn you away if you have some sort of unrelated failure. That we would overlook that detail. Where a lot of dealerships, the minute you came in, the car was lowered or had wheels on it, they'd turn you around, they'd reject you, and it sucked.
Yeah.
So there was something unique about what we did, and that got me. I got my feet wet as far as doing like the retail sale, talking to customers and dealing with these parts. And that eventually led to my second job in the industry, and that was working for AEM. I worked for AEM from 2000 through 2007.
Wow.
So yeah, did a bit there. It was a lot of fun. Really learned, what it took to put a brand out there and sell a product. And I traveled a ton. Probably the worst time in my life to travel.
Really?
Yeah, I was, left a wife and a young family at home every time I left, and I was gone a lot. Like, we usually fly out on either Thursday or Friday. You're gone Saturdays, Sundays, and maybe if you're lucky, you get a late flight
on Sunday. Yeah,
and come home. But AEM was a machine. They expected me back in the office Monday. And, a lot of it was like download or decompress, share your information, run reports, get back on task, deal with the accounts that I had, represented. And I was such a company man. I never said no. I wanted to grow. I wanted to, advance as quickly as I could. So I felt like the best way to do that is always be the yes guy. So if they asked me to do something, even if it was like no notice.
Yeah.
I remember Kirk Miller, I believe he's still with the company, would come and tap me on my shoulder and he's like, I need you to fly out. I'm like, when? He's like, tomorrow.
Really?
Dude, that sucks. Like, I haven't prepared.
Yeah.
I'm not ready. So it was really tough on the family unit. I wasn't making like enough money to keep the wife home and let her just be a full-time mother. So my wife also worked. That meant the kids were at like a daycare, and I really, really didn't like that concept. Like, dad's never home. When I did get home, I had a newborn and wouldn't even come to me.
Really?
Seriously. And
Wow.
I think that was like the moment I realized, like, I'm not doing the right thing. I thought maybe I was being a little selfish by wanting to continue to work in this industry and not have the balls to say something to my employer. And finally I did. I told him, like, I can't do this job. Like, you got to find a younger dude that can do this and travel and love it. And I'll just stay here. I'll just come to the office and do the 9 to 5 or 8 to 5.
Now, back then, was AEM, what was its role in the industry as far as, was it one of the leaders, or was it?
I would say so. Yeah, they were responsible for everything at that point. Like, they did multiple things, not just intake systems. I think intake systems were what really kind of made them who they were and allowed them to do other stuff. But they were doing fuel rails, regulators. They did power pulleys.
Were they doing managements at that time?
Not until the later years.
Gotcha.
They always wanted to. I know that was part of the whole name, Advanced Engine Management. And I think management was part of the company in its early years, when they were more of like a destination. Like, you'd go there to get cars tuned, or I guess kind of tie some of the other products that they made. They were more like a service facility. And then they got away from that and went into full-blown like manufacturing. And I know that the owner of the company, John Concialdi, he was one of the elders. And then Greg Neuwirth, they wanted to get back to that. So that's something that they did towards the end of my career. I think I left after about 2 years of that product line being available.
Got you. So you realized that you were giving up more than you were receiving, and you're focusing your energy on.
Yeah, the business was good to me, but it wasn't good timing.
Yeah.
It was like had I put off having a family longer, then it would have been awesome. But when you look at like what I had to do and what they were expecting of me and my personal life, the things that were going on, just it didn't work. It was hard. It was hard to accept that, you know, I wasn't getting paid well enough to not know my kids. You know, like some people will make that, they'll make that call. Like they'll sacrifice a family relationship for the dollar, you know, and you see that. The school my kids go to, the dads are almost never around. Like they're chasing the money. And it's usually, it was really innocent to begin with, you know. It's like he made money. You end up changing your lifestyle to match the income, and then eventually you lose track of what was really important, you know. And now you just know that you have the bills, so you can't stop. So you can't just go, hey, no, I want to get back to what was most important. That's family. And I want to go see my kid play games and do all the things. It's like, no, now I got the big house and I got, you know, 3 car payments and you've got all the nice stuff and you got to figure out how to pay for it. And usually
you get trapped.
You get trapped. Yeah. You get stuck. You're just, you know, like this is my life now. And I would be there actually if it weren't for probably the worst and the best thing that happened to me. So I left AEM. I went to work for Group A, Skunk 2.
Okay.
I probably would have been there for 7 years or more. Just long-term, you know, relationships and or employment is what I was looking for.
So you left in 2007.
So I left in the end of 2007, 2008, and then I worked for Group A.
Okay.
Left Group A on an opportunity to move out of the state. So King Motorsports came knocking on the door.
In Wisconsin.
I left California. I looked at it like this is just a huge opportunity for me to move to a place where life kind of slowed down.
Yeah.
California, everyone's
to
just
a
like,
halt.
Yeah.
I've been out there, bro. To a halt.
So I can't lie to you then.
A week is a month out there, dude.
Yeah.
Shout out to all my family out there in Wisconsin. You guys got to move to California.
Yeah. You know, it was funny when we moved to Wisconsin, and we were applying for driver's license, and we're getting our PO box and all this stuff, and we're using our current IDs. My wife and I looked at each other a couple of times when people would be such downers. They would just be so negged out. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like, you're from California.
You are out. You were out.
Why are you moving here? I remember when we were at the post office, that was probably the most depressing conversation I had. The woman was just like, you don't understand how badly I want to get out of here. And I'm like,
no shit.
I look at my wife, I'm like, did we do the right thing? Like, did we just make the biggest mistake of our lives? Like, everybody we came in contact with that saw our IDs, that knew we were moving there like permanently.
Yeah.
That they were like, dude, you're making a mistake.
Wow.
But I looked at it like, dude, this is a huge opportunity. Work for King Motorsports. Most people know King Motorsports as, you know, the U.S. supplier from Mugen.
Yeah.
And I've known them for a lot longer than that. I dealt with a couple of the salesmen there. So I knew that they were more than just that. And if you look at a map of the United States, at least at that time, they were something to the Midwest that, you know, couldn't be duplicated. They were like the place to go. So people would travel, you know, to get their cars, you know, worked on, tuned. They had such a great history with racing, and I thought this would be awesome for me. And the title that they gave me when the concept was pitched was sales and marketing manager.
So if we can, I don't want to skip ahead. So how much time did you spend at Skunk 2?
2 years.
2
a little
years.
little less than 2 years. So
okay.
So the time that I was there was pretty brief, but it was I would say closer to like a year and a half.
Was it something that you just didn't expect, or they ran differently than AEM? Or?
No, actually, I love the business. It was great. I actually had my most successful years as a salesperson at Group A.
Yeah.
And that had a lot to do with the way Dave, the owner, ran the business. He stayed in his lane. Like, he knew what he needed to do for the business, and he didn't micromanage. He didn't mess with the salespeople. He just let us do what we were supposed to do. That's not to say that AEM didn't, but Kirk taught me a lot. Awesome mentor. I wouldn't be the person I am today without having learned so much from him. But he was also really, really critical.
Yeah, he seemed like a very corporate businessman. When I've met him,
very intense. Like, well, I don't know if you got that from him, but definitely as a salesperson, he let you know like when you weren't doing things right. Sometimes in moments that were like terrible, I'd be on the phone with the customer, and he would only hear one side of the conversation. Obviously, like he literally put a hole in his wall with a sliding door, so he could hear me.
Wow.
And there'd be conversations I'd get into that were long-winded, right? And I knew they were, but this isn't my company. I've got to find a classy way of getting out of the conversation. I can't just be like, dude, I gotta go. Yeah, because these customers, with forums just starting to kind of become a thing, you had to worry about whether or not your name was going to be tied to some sort of complaint that, if the owner caught wind of, he's going to say, yo, hey, how does this happen?
Yeah.
How do you make this customer angry? And I'm like, I got a Kirk outside of my, my cubicle here staring at me. He's telling me, get off the phone, get off the phone. And he keeps saying it. And I'm like, I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to do, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, I can't just hang up. And it taught me a lot about, how to get off the phone, which, I don't think I would have learned that had he not been who he was.
So he actually gave you sort of tips on how to change it around.
I wasn't a salesman before I worked there.
That's awesome.
That wasn't my job when I arrived there. I originally got the job at AEM as a result of kind of a friend, I guess you would say, bringing me in as for purchasing. I was going to be on like kind of the back end of the business doing, all the purchasing and whatnot. And then they realized like I was like a technical guy and I knew the industry, and I went from that to customer service, and then quickly from customer service to sales. And then I did customer service and sales simultaneously.
Gotcha.
And then DC Sports was purchased, and I did customer service and sales for both companies. And then eventually customer service got cut out. That got handed down to somebody else to kind of streamline things. And that's when traveling became kind of a thing. But Kirk taught me how to have the right conversations with companies. What companies we're looking to talk about. Not, hey, yeah, buy this. This is cool. It was you're selling on an entirely different level. Like, you're selling volume, and you got to come up with ways that make it interesting for these accounts to want to buy more of your product or spend their money with you rather than another brand. So that was all his doing. Like, I would not have been able to do what I did on my own. He definitely helped me. But I also feel like everything that I did was somewhat restricted by him. I couldn't make a move without it going through him.
Yeah.
And I felt a bit handicapped. Like, I wasn't able to spread my wings,
Got you.
So leaving and then moving over to Group A, Dave being very different. He wasn't the sales manager. He was the owner. He didn't, hover over you. He didn't pay attention to what you did. All he cared about were the numbers. And Tony and I, some people might just say we got lucky, but the company experienced some of the biggest growth it's ever seen in the first year we were there.
And this is
2007.
Okay.
And then I left late 2008.
Oh shit, that was
Yeah.
right before I got into it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I met you actually at an IBOC. It was an IBOC meet, and Group A was kind of like a point where people were gonna get together and then drive over to IBOC when it was actually held on their premises.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was you and Ryan had the CRX.
Yeah.
And that was
Really?
I can't say for sure whether it was like their first or second or third, but it was in their very early years. And that was the very first time that I had met Ryan in person, because I think he was up in like NorCal,
he was
right?
in NorCal, yeah.
So I met him, shook his hand for the first time. I met you.
Wow.
It was really early.
That's crazy.
It was a lot of fun, because I was still like really into the industry. I had a car, and I was doing a lot of stuff after hours, and still like really that enthusiast,
Yeah.
And the business was great. They were really like, they embraced that culture. AEM was more corporate.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that, and the owner allowed us, Dave, the owner of Group A, allowed us to bring that into the company and kind of share, do these open houses, walk people around through the building, make them feel like we were transparent, that there wasn't anything to hide. A lot of technology in that place.
That was around when like the street team was getting started,
exactly.
and YouTube videos and things like that. And Brandon was there, and
Street team, I think, was kind of Tony's idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I want to say it was Tony Shagday's idea. We were looking for like brand ambassadors and people that would go out and put the Skunk Tube brand on the street, make it popular. And it worked out really, really well. And then, I didn't get to see it, kind of blossom, but
yeah, a lot of stuff changed mid, I would say probably 2012 and on, things started changing, but I'd say maybe 2009 to 2012, Skunk 2 had a real hold on what was going on in the community. I remember the street team. I was on it. Sheepy was on it. Ryan was on it. Mike G was on it. Loretto from up north. I don't know if you remember that car. It was the San Jose Sharks like EK, super dope car.
I don't know that car.
It was like the teal color with like a lot of black. I think black chrome, if I'm not mistaken. Morgan Jade was on. That was crazy, man.
Yeah,
that was such a good time.
It was a good time. I had a lot of fun in the short amount of time that I was there. And it was the very first time that I was allowed to be creative.
Yeah.
Like there was no like rules to follow. Yeah. It allowed me to really kind of stretch, my ability, realize what I did well and what I did poorly. And obviously you go back and just do the things that you do well.
Yeah.
But it wasn't planned. Like this opportunity for King literally landed in my inbox. And
did you already have a relationship with them?
well, I had a relationship in the sense that I managed their account at AEM.
Got you. Okay.
And I one of the things that I have a lot of great relationships throughout the industry. I've been able to manage a product line for people, from my seat at the supporting company, so at AEM for the period of time I was there, I made all the right moves with these businesses that were scattered throughout the United States or even the world. And I don't know, I guess I made the right recommendations in a lot of cases, and it helped those companies make a lot of money, and I was loyal and drove people to them. And, it was a good relationship because these companies wouldn't deliberate. When I made a recommendation, like they bought.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what you're working for. Like today's different, but then it was all about getting the inventory in the facility and then making sure that the local customer base was being satisfied with having that product available to them, not having to wait for the stuff to come clear across, the other side of the country.
So you're saying if anybody called from that Midwest area, you say, "Hey, hit up King."
We'd push all the business to them. So, and I had a good memory of like what I sold them. So if it was something I sold and I knew it needed to be, you want to have them feel like it wasn't a mistake. So you ultimately try to sell that for them if you can.
Got you.
So if they bought heavy on a given product, and I'm getting the consumer, and it was rare, but every now and then AEM or Group A would get a call from an end user, and the end user would say, "Hey, I'm looking for this." Well, I mean, why not send them to the place that you just sold 5 of to them, and give them their first sale potentially, and make them feel like it wasn't a bad move to pick up something that they initially weren't going to buy.
Okay.
So these companies felt really good about buying stuff when I would bring it up, or I'd recommend it. It never really made them feel like they were taking that big risk. And I guess I had enough of those wins, those positive check marks under my name, that the owner at King Motorsports decided to send me an email.
So that was just Scott.
Scott
is the one that emailed you.
Scott Zellner sends me an email, and I thought it was just a purchase order. And I didn't read the body of the email. I just read the purchase order and entered the order and fired it off and was done with it. And then I think it was like a day or two later, Scott's like, "Did you read the email?" I'm like, yeah, I got your order out. He's like, "No, not the order. Like, did you read the email?" I'm like, "Oh no, let me go back and read it." So there was something in the email that he wanted me to read. I'm reading it while he's on the phone.
And this was when you're at
Group A.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm reading this email, and I'm like, "Oh shit! Like, dude, you shouldn't have wrote this email.
Yeah.
Like, you should have sent this to my personal email. Like, you don't send this to a company email."
Yeah.
And I don't know. Dave's the kind of guy that would potentially maybe be able to see emails that were coming into his employees. So I rather not try to lie about something like that. So immediately after reading it and hanging up with Scott, I walked into Dave's office.
No shit.
I didn't want to. I'm not that guy,
That's a really respectable move.
I walked in and I told him, I was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know that this email came through." And I don't even think he gave a shit that the email came through. I think he was more interested in whether I was interested.
Really?
Yeah, he was like, yeah. So are you going? I'm like, yeah.
So he had it all planned out for you, how much you would be making, what he was offering.
No, not yet.
No.
I mean, that's why I was so disappointed that it happened that way. We really put the cart in front of the horse. You know? It was like, dude, decisions had to be made so quickly. And I mean, I had a home to sell. I had real things that needed to be done, and I was just kind of put in the spot, in the moment there, and I hadn't talked to my wife. Like, "Babe, we're moving." So no, it actually
to Wisconsin.
Yeah, to Wisconsin of all places, right? But I told Dave, I mean, this isn't happening right away, and he's like, "Dude, you have a job until you leave."
That's very cool.
So I stayed. I think it took. It must have been 6, maybe 7 months for that to actually happen. This was right before the bubble burst. The housing market crashed. We were trying to sell our house, and we're having a very difficult time doing so. And obviously that kind of made things hard on Scott, I'm sure, because he was anticipating this happening a lot sooner.
Gotcha.
But it was all contingent on us being able to sell the house. Like, I'm not moving until the house is sold.
You can't.
Yeah, I mean, you can, but I wasn't about to carry a mortgage or try to rent this house out and deal with rental people in my home, and I'm 2,300 miles away. So, and my family's not the type that would be interested in managing that for me, and I didn't want them to have that burden. So all things pointed to me getting the house sold first and foremost before I would consider it. So I would talk to Scott multiple times a day, multiple times a week. I'm sorry, and we would talk about the plans, what would basically go down once I was there. He would try to maybe put some things into place before I got there, you know. So the energy was great. There was a lot of positivity. He had these grand plans, and then finally we move.
Had you met?
I had met.
Okay.
Yeah. He was someone I had met previously when I was traveling with AEM.
Got you. Okay. Cool.
And then I think in the early stages of the negotiation process, he flew my wife and I out.
Got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
He brought us out, showed us around town. We sat down. We talked about, you know, the hard hitting stuff, like, you know, pay, and my wife was on board. She loved the idea. We were both very interested in leaving the crazy concrete jungle that LA is, and, you know, having 3 kids, 3 boys. You're looking for more of that like family environment, and you there's a lot of things that you could say about like Wisconsin that people would say, well, that's not the place to live. Like, it was a great place. Like, I knew what I was getting into, and I still wanted it. I wanted it, and I wanted to move there permanently.
You still have the down home lifestyle, kids playing outside, playing football, riding bikes, and that's awesome.
Exactly.
Man.
Like, dude, check. This is how I had hoped it would go, and when it actually happened, like I wasn't a liar to my wife. So like she saw it just like I saw it. When we finally committed, my son Anthony was the only one that was old enough to really be in like any kind of team sport, or really passionate about it, I guess you would say. And Gina had made phone calls to like the area that we were going to be in, like New Berlin, where King Motorsports is at.
Okay.
And was trying to get him on a baseball team. Just let him know, like, he's coming, but he's coming in the middle of the season. Is there a way he can, you know, not skip a beat because he's playing here year round? And, you know, can we get him on a team?
Now, how old was he at this time?
Anthony must have been 13.
Okay.
13, 14.
Wow, that's an age to just get up and move.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough on the family unit, you know, to expect them to just, you know, completely change their lives. But, you know, this was like I said, a permanent move. Like, we weren't coming back. This was something that I wanted to do for them. So we get there, and the craziest thing, the people, so great. We get introduced to the team. Anthony had a cast. He's a catcher. He broke his arm.
Okay.
And he couldn't even play, but he wanted, as soon as the cast come off, to be able to obviously be on a team. So
Yeah.
they welcome him like the way they welcome told you that you had come to the place that you wanted, that we were looking for. Like, they had a barbecue for him.
No way.
Yeah, it was like a block party.
It was like Sandlot.
A whole bunch of families got together at one family's house, and we went over, and dude, it was like the most amazing feeling to just be welcomed by so many people that didn't know us. And they opened their doors to us, and they kind of made us feel at home, you know? And this was super genuine. This is not something that I would say would just happen with these individuals. Like, everywhere we went, you could tell people were genuine. I remember another moment, just to segue. We were in the mall, and I walked in the double doors, and I bumped. I think I actually bumped the person, and I turned and I said sorry, and they were like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry." And, you know, that doesn't happen here. You get hit in the shoulder in California, and you're in a mall, and you're either going to get into a fight, or they're just going to keep walking and not say a word to you. Mm-hmm. And to me, it was just like, wow, these people they're real. Like, they're not too busy, you know. Everyone just slowed down, and they were enjoying the good weather when they had good weather. I think that might have been the reason why. Is like they're out and about. They're doing outside activities. The moms and dads are or running around with the kids or riding bikes in the street with the kids. Like you just don't see that stuff here.
Yeah.
And I mean, a young parent, I can do those things with my kids. And I just wanted to meet other people that had similar interests. And no matter where we were, just life here didn't present those same opportunities. Everyone's just so focused on the grind, you know. They're just making money, and they come home. They don't have any time for their kids, and I'm like, all right, we just need to move away from this. And when that opportunity came up, it was the very first thing I thought of. It's like, oh, this would be really great for the family. So I jumped all over it. I'm like, yeah. So we worked out all the details, and we ended up moving probably 5 or 6 months after the initial email, and it wasn't smooth. It didn't.
The move?
No. Oh, the move was smooth. A lot of the employees that worked for the company were great, but Scott and I were like water and oil.
Really?
Yeah, bro. Like,
you didn't notice any of that via your conversations before?
No, none.
Wow.
None. Like, to this day, I won't say anything real negative, but like, me and him are not cool.
Oh shit.
Well, and I don't know how he feels.
Yeah.
But I'm not cool with him.
Yeah.
Even though it was a great opportunity, it was the biggest learning lesson of my life. It's one that I wish I would have had been able to do without.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, nobody wants to learn that lesson that hard.
That's a crazy lesson 2,500 miles away.
Dude, it didn't work out. The housing bubble just burst. There isn't anything else out there for me, you know?
Yeah.
Not even close to being able to pay me what I was getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no way I can even find a job. It's like the tool and die capital of the world, you know? Like, finding another spot like King, well, the reason why I went there is because they were one of a kind. I mean, where do you go from there? You don't have another version of them somewhere else. Like, it was either move further east to like New York or move south like to Florida. Like, that was the option. And my wife just looked at me and she's like, no, we're not moving further. We have zero security net here. You know, when shit hit the fan, we didn't have family to fall back on. We had nothing, dude. And I mean, I'm responsible for my wife and my 3 kids, you know, like.
And how old are you at this time? Do you remember?
So that's 10 years, 11 years ago. So I'm in my early 30s.
Early 30s.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
wow, that's scary.
It's a scary, scary moment. Like, I had talked to a lot of people. I had job offers, but it all took me east. And obviously the wife wasn't willing to co-sign that. So she was like, nope, you know, we're moving home. But we were in the middle of a lease. I still had 3 or 4 months to go on a 12-month lease. It didn't even last 8 months.
So when did you know that there was an issue? How early into it? Was it something like, hey, this first week?
Honestly, first month.
Really?
Yeah. I knew that the person that I had met was one person, and working for that person he was a totally different person. Mm-hmm. I would maybe go as far as saying like he was bipolar.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
oh wow.
Yeah, it was tough because, you know, I knew that person was there, but he wasn't present during work, and you know, there was a lot of things that he did allow me to do, you know, which was the reason why he, you know, obviously brought someone 2,300 miles over, gave the title of sales and marketing manager too, but he wanted to know like everything up front. I mean, I didn't even know what I was going to do. It wasn't like there was some script, you know, that I was going to follow that was going to equal success. I mean, I had just gotten there.
Yeah.
What I did know was that I was going to work my ass off for him. And that was clear right away. I was putting in between 12 and 16-hour days every day.
And you're obviously salary, right?
Yeah, I was salaried.
Wow.
So what I knew was I was all in. I sold a home. I moved my family 2,300 miles. You know, this is real. I don't have any other option to be successful at this.
Yeah.
Right. So I was going to do whatever it took to give King Motorsports and Scott Zellner that success as quickly as I could. You know, he told me, we got you covered for a year. We don't expect any major things to happen within the first year.
Let you cook, let you get used to everything.
Well, that sure changed quick. Like, he was hard pressed. He wanted to know what we were going to do. He wanted, basically, he wanted the syllabus. He wanted me to put it in writing. And I thought, no, I got burned at Diamond Bar Honda for the same way. I ended up training my replacement there because I taught the guy everything that I knew, and then they didn't need me anymore. So
and they just paid him less.
Yeah. So what Scott didn't know is that I had that bad experience.
Yeah.
Right. So the last thing I wanted to do was put a roadmap to success on paper and then slide that across the table and say, here you go. And then, you know, him say, well, shit, we don't need the kid from Cali anymore. You know, we could just, you know, cut him out and just do what the paperwork says.
Yep.
So I was a little reluctant to give him everything. So it was kind of like a time release pill. You know, I gave him a little bit here and there, and we had these great plans, and we started executing on those plans. I saw an immediate difference to the business. A lot of the things that a lot of the things that I did are still in place today. And they're the things that the people in that area come to love. Like, we did a meet, very Eibach-esque.
The Dyno Day.
Yes, the King Motorsports Dyno Day. I did the very first one. It was a hard sell, and I'm glad it was a huge success because, you know, my name was tied to that. Like, that was a very, very big thing to ask the owner to basically do, you know? So it worked out really well, and it kind of broke down walls that King Motorsports, for whatever reason, seemed to have with its customers. Its customers in the local community always felt like that wasn't somewhere that you go because they're expensive, and, you know, they only touch like the best of the best stuff. You know, they wouldn't work on Joe Blow's car that wasn't at that level. And what we were trying to do is break down those walls that made people feel like you couldn't go there. And started to see that, you know, customers, regular Joes would come in and spend their hard-earned cash. And, you know, that was, I think, obviously a step in the right direction. I put a feather in my own hat for that, and felt like, you know, we're already seeing changes in such a short period of time. But there were times where he would just lose it. He would just snap, and he would do that in less than a professional way. Okay. And I'm kind of a professional guy at this time, and I think that, you know, maybe there should have been a different approach. And I think it happened like twice, and then finally it happened a third time, but this time it happened in front of customers.
Oh, wow.
And it was a lot embarrassing, you know, a lot. For me to, you know, and even though these customers didn't know me that way, for it to happen in front of a customer. And I had told him the previous time that nobody talks to me like that. You know, this is the kind of stuff that you might get into with your father, you know, that kind of conversation, like yelling and, you know, you're like, I could see a young man and his father having this conversation when maybe you're too old to be living at home. And he says, hey, you need to get your shit and go, because it's either you live under my roof my way, or you go. You get your own house and you can live any way you want. That's kind of what it felt like. Like, Dad was just getting mad at me, but I'm like, dude, you're not my dad. Oh, you know, so you don't talk to me like this. You don't yell at me, and you don't yell at me in front of customers. Like, this was so disrespectful. And so I didn't know what to do other than just leave. Like, I walked out. And I don't do that. I'm not a runner. You know, I don't run from shit like that. But I didn't know what to do in that environment. So I walked out the back door and jumped in my car and took a drive, because I was afraid that I might do something stupid. Yeah. Like physical. It got that hot. So when I was cooled off and ready to come back, there's a guy named Mike Lindquist that worked there. He was really, really important to that business, and I talked to him a lot. We were real close, and I gave him a call. I'm like, dude, is the coast clear? Like, can I come back? And he's like, no, don't come back. And I think this was a Friday, and he called me, or I called him. I can't remember how it happened, but I talked to him over the weekend, and he's like, hey, Scott changed the locks on the building. You're done. You're out. And I'm not even, I'm not even hearing this from the person that needs to be telling me this.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that all this is going down from an employee. And so my wife and I, obviously, we just kind of brace for the worst. And I walk in on Monday, and he had another employee sitting in the office with him as a witness, and said that you're done. He says you're fired.
And this was, you said 8 months?
8 months in.
Oh my God.
I think it was, if it wasn't 8, it was pretty darn close to
Gotcha.
to 9, but it was within that 8-9 month period. And I remember the words, like, it rings in my head like a bell. He's like, I can't let you sink this ship. And I'm like,
shit.
sink this ship? Like, what are you talking about? You agreed to the numbers. You knew, what I got paid in California. We agreed to that. He agreed to a 2-year contract, but apparently, doesn't mean shit unless you get it in writing. And I learned one of my biggest lessons in life there. So I had no other choice but, move back home like a whooped dog, and came back to California, left my family there. We still had a lease on the house, or the place where we were staying. The kids were still in school. So I left them there, drove my car back, flew back, picked up another car, drove it back, and then flew back for a third time to move the house. We rented a truck, and my wife drove her Pilot, and I drove the moving truck back. But
And what's your mindset at this whole time?
Find work.
Really? You were just
that
like,
was the only
is
thing
what
that
I
was
gotta
important.
do?
Yeah, like I knew that being an industry guy, that the only thing that I could do that would net me the best possible results is move back to California.
Mm-hmm.
That was number one. Like, I had family there that would support me. So obviously, being able to sleep somewhere was fixed. That was the problem solved. So moved back. Called Dave, of all people, on my way back, and he was like,
Wow.
Dude, you have a job when you get back. So that was nice to know, but I wasn't sure whether or not, like, I would really want to go back to work, at Group A. So I said, all right, I'll come in and we'll talk. I came in, we talked, kind of settled back into my old role. And
So you went back to Group A?
pretty much right away.
Okay, cool.
I got settled back in, wanted to kind of sit down and just see whether it was going to be right for me, and did a couple of days where I just kind of sat in the role and made some phone calls, and something just didn't feel right. And I started hearing a lot of negged out customers, people who were kind of what you're saying. There was a shift, right? And changes had made, and it wasn't just on that side of the business, what consumers see, but also on the back end, where a lot of dealers, in my absence, even though it was a very short amount of time, the new salespeople that were put into place while I was gone was kind of the Wild West. So one of the things that I did, I was really loyal to, let's say you're a dealer in Florida and you're one of our first, right? You came in at the right time. We used us. It was a good relationship. And I told you that you didn't have to worry about competition, within, say, a 30-mile radius. Like, you got this area locked down. We're not going to introduce any competition. Well, apparently, in a lot of different places, the new salesperson wasn't going to get paid until he found accounts that would generate that increased revenue. So they would just go in and lawlessly set people up.
So they would just be on what, like an internship, or?
No, not really. So
was it like base hour?
You're mainly hourly, like salary. You didn't really get paid necessarily like a commission, but they wanted to know that you were coming in and making a difference, right?
Yes.
You don't just come and sit in a seat, and act like you're a McDonald's drive-through attendant just taking orders. They want to know that you're driving sales.
Yeah.
Like you're out there, you're pushing. But as a senior sales rep, Tony and I would always have I guess you would say, like, we had the power to pass or deny a new dealer.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got some of these younger dudes would come in and say, oh, well, I want to set a guy up in like my dealer's backyard. I'm like, no, it's not happening, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, find another territory. Like, stop looking for the low hanging fruit. You just go out and actually put in work, find the diamond in the rough. Obviously, like CFT, Central Florida Turbo, for Sergio and Fernando, were my dudes, like ride or die dudes. I would ask them to do anything and they would do it. And, I called them up and they were like, nah, man, pretty much everybody at Group A just fucked us. Like, you guys, we created the demand for Group A Skunk 2 merchandise in this area. We put you guys on the map. And
what area of Florida? What city?
Orlando.
Oh, shit.
So,
okay.
Like,
that's a big market.
I respected what they did. They were heavy hitters. They put Group A on the map, and I rewarded them with making sure that they had that territory locked down. Like, they would facilitate all the local demand for retail customers, and then they would also sell, stuff two-step. They would sell it to the other small businesses. Well, obviously those small businesses want a better deal, so they would call, and I would say, like, no, you're it's not a good fit. You really aren't going to get a better deal going direct. Your best way of getting this merchandise is to go through them. So
yes.
They would walk in the door and I'd walk them right back out the door. Like, you go back to them.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, then find another WD. You can go to Titan, or you can go to Speed World. So there were other avenues of obtaining the product, but I never indulged in setting someone new up. Mm-hmm. And what I heard when I got back was, that it was just the Wild West. Like,
now, what year was this?
This was 2009.
2009.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Towards the end of 2009.
Okay. Now, do you think that this had anything to do with the direct competition that was coming around at that time for Skunk 2?
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it.
Got you.
But this sealed their fate a lot earlier. Like, so one thing I've learned with my business that I could see having happened at this time was the customer base that you have. Like, you have to be you have to over communicate with them. You got to make sure that they're happy. And one thing that was already happening at this time that I knew I couldn't do a whole lot about. I would just constantly have pep talks and let them know that I was in their corner and I was supporting them and I was pushing business to them. And that was these, companies that were kind of like shell companies. They weren't real. We didn't know who they were. They were on eBay selling product that pretty much cost. Mm-hmm. And everyone's trying to compete with that. Mm-hmm. And it was always what we would hear, like, I can't make any money on your product line. Like, I got to sell it super cheap and, this isn't working out. So the big stocking orders started to get smaller and smaller. So this was happening simultaneously. So you already had this kind of weird working environment where people weren't exactly like loving the brand. Mm-hmm. And then you go and, put the icing on the cake and you go and set 4 guys up in the backyard of who your dude was. And I tried to explain early before this occurred, before I even left, that you don't do that. And the reason that we would always stick with maybe a dominant player in an area was because, you're not going to increase sales. There's only a few ways that you can increase sales. Increasing your product line is one way. Increasing your customer base to an extent, but not by diluting a given like area. That's just displaced sales. Like you took the sales from them.
From them, yeah,
and
yeah.
Now you're just getting it from this guy over here, and you did it at the sacrifice of profit.
Mm-hmm.
So you now have a bunch of guys getting 30% off, and before, you know, you only had one guy getting 30% off. So
And they're getting 15 from him.
yeah, so
Gotcha.
it was just a really, really bad combo. And when I heard that, I took it like really like took it to heart. Like, okay, these guys are mad. And Sergio Fernando told me, like, dude, nothing against you, we love you, but it doesn't matter that you're back. Like, relationship is over. Like,
Gotcha.
we will never work the same way we did then. So you're coming back to like an injured account, and I would call other companies, and they all had very similar things to say.
Shit.
I'm like, well, fuck me, man.
Ouch.
Wait, you know, it's like Michael Jordan when he left the game, he left on a high, and then he comes back, you know, and then he had all these injuries and excuses about, you know, how his game was. Like, dude, who wants to come back to a company and then do a shit job and then leave on a low?
Yeah.
So I looked at it like, dude, I can't do what I did before. Like, this isn't the legacy I want to leave. I don't want people to think of me as being the guy that couldn't get the job done. So I just decided not to take the job.
So how long were you there before you decided that?
I think I did some, you know, special projects is kind of what he called me, like a special project manager. I did some oddball here and there things, and I did it for maybe 2 or 3 months. And I really, you know, can't say enough. Thanks, Dave. It was the only source of income I had, and had he not given me that opportunity, I'm just really sad that I couldn't sit back down in the seat and make happen what he remembered me being able to do. You know? I felt like I was just going to let him down. And rather than do that, I decided to do something else. And that something else, there was no something else. I walked around. I probably put out, I don't know, a couple hundred resumes. I ended up taking
couple hundred
resumes.
Oh
yeah.
My
I took the dollar amount off my resume completely. I went from trying to hold that high line. This is what I got paid before I left Wisconsin, you know, for Wisconsin. And now I'm just like, dude, I just need a job.
Okay, everybody, we're going to take a quick break for our sponsors, and we'll be back in 1 minute. Yo, what's up, fool? Make sure you check out Downstar for all of your dress-up needs. Get it poppin' over here. We have all the keys for the K series, the B series, the transmission, the mounts, the engine, the Toro, baby. We have the hardware for the seats, for the stereo. We got it for the speakers. We got it for the lug nuts. We got it for the air valves. We got it for everything, dog. So you make sure you hit us up at downstar.com, or you call us up, fool. You can even text us, lame, 818-937-3472. Just shoot us a text and tell us what's up, dog. I need some fucking balls in this bitch. Hit us up, downstarring.com. Hey, and if you got an Instagram, slide in our fucking DM at Downstar. Wait, hit up the homie, Frank_Downstar. He's the one that takes care of all the DMs. Hit that level up and shoot him a message, and he'll get you all taken care of real nicely. 2010-ish, around then.
I just need a job. I don't care what it pays. And then I would hear shit like, "Oh yeah, you're overqualified." Like, let me
determine.
Like, I just need work, man. I just need a job. And then something fell into my lap. My buddy Catman, he had heard about this guy. His name's Ben Tran, and he owned a shop that had its own product line called Blueprint Racing.
Okay.
And I decided, I was like, all right, cool. You know, I'll sit down with this guy. And the reason why we sat down is Catman knew that I wanted to get my own product line off, right? I wanted to do something. And this guy was talking about potentially bankrolling it.
Mm-hmm.
And
oh, wow.
So I'm like, cool, you know, 50% of something's better than, 100% of nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, let's sit down, let's talk. I guess I must have been likable or whatever, but Ben was like, dude, I want to do more than that. I want to plug you into my my business right now. So, if you're interested, I'll give you a job and then we'll see this product line, get off while you're working for me. And I'm like, dude, shit, yeah, let's do it. So I got introduced to his business and really loved what he was doing. Was right up my alley. And I saw a lot of things that were very similar to the way King did stuff. And I thought, well, this would be a great way for me to kind of stick it to the man that screwed me over. So a lot of the ideas, a lot of the concepts that I had that I was going to basically, do for King, I pretty much did for Blueprint, and required a lot of hard work, and saw these little challenges kind of go through their moments, and then eventually find success like I had hoped it would. And I was like the company man, really, really invested in this business. And then Ben stopped showing up to work, and it was just like I was the guy, I was the owner of the company. I think a lot of people from that era probably thought I owned that business.
Now, what did they do there?
So they didn't make anything in house. Most of the stuff was branded, purchased overseas, and they kind of had like the connecting rod market locked down. At that time, they were really well known for the K series connecting rods. They did some stroker kits for the K series, engine builds, but all their engine builds were like super low budget. And King Motorsports had a low budget engine build category. And what I didn't like was, obviously you sell a bunch of low budget engine builds to people and you know what they're going to go do with them. And it's just, those are all ticking time bombs. You know that you're going to end up dealing with these customers in a manner that you don't want to.
Yeah.
So I tried to convince Ben, like, let's stop doing this shit work and let's start really pushing the envelope on high end work. And it took a long time to do that, but everything that we did better. We were really proud of what we were putting out, and customers were having success. And then that led to the next successful deal. And I remember, towards the end of my time there, selling $18,000 to $30,000 long blocks was not uncommon.
Wow.
Like that, if you would have asked Ben a year earlier if he thought that would be possible, I think he thought I'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Because he's over here fighting for $2,800 and $3,500 short blocks, and I'm over here hustling for the big deals. Do you know the time attack scene in Australia?
A little bit. Was it JDM Yard?
Yeah.
Yolness out there.
Yep. There was a CRX that was really well known. He stopped competing, but there was a CRX called Mighty Mouse.
Okay.
You ever hear that one?
No.
The very first year that he competed, we were responsible for the whole engine program.
Wow.
And he was successful, very successful. And built him a second motor, and unfortunately there was an issue. But those were like huge moments for the business to be able to sell such a big piece of hardware to a team's success, and be able to note that success. And that I just felt like things were going the right direction. We were now doing business with the customer base that we ultimately wanted to do business with, and the ball was in our hands, but there was some internal issues that ultimately led to me departing. Never actually got any of the products that I wanted to make off the ground. And that was one of I'd say more like the internal disappointments. Like the amount of time I was there was no reason why we couldn't make those things happen. I think he just wasn't interested in those things like he said he was, and he gained an employee that pretty much ran the business. So I felt like, I was a little bit deceived, and I wasn't going to get what I wanted out of the relationship. So decided to leave. And when I left, I had more confidence through all these experiences to finally do something for myself. The worst part about it, best part about what you've been preaching in some of your more recent posts
Mm-hmm.
is that you can do it. And I finally kind of believed in myself enough, I think not only believing in myself enough, but I had a lot of recent failures that made me feel like, dude, I'm already like at rock bottom.
Yeah, where
Like,
else
where am I gonna
go?
go from
Yeah.
here? Like, honestly, this is a shit feeling to be where I was, living with my in-laws, having 3 of my own kids running around their house. Like, I just
Shit.
felt like if I'm gonna make a move, I'm never gonna be given this opportunity again. Like, not have the same worries that most people have, right? I mean, you have a mortgage payment, maybe a car payment, you have credit card bills, you have all this stuff. I didn't have any of that, but I also didn't have the money to launch a product line, and I don't have friends that have money, so I can't borrow, I can't, take a loan out. I don't want to. I don't want to do that. I feel like that's possibly the worst way to start,
Yeah.
being in debt to someone. So I used to do a lot of photography I originally tried to do it as a profession, and then ended up just taking it on more as a hobby. But
Wow.
I had a huge investment in glass.
No way.
Yeah, I probably had at one point about $30,000 worth of equipment.
Wow.
All Al glass, and I looked at it, and it wasn't bringing me any, income. It was just sitting in a bag, and I, obviously don't have the interest in going out and shooting in my current situation in life. So it's like that stuff was just sitting there. I decided, all right, I'm going to sell it all. So I think I kept one body and like 2 lenses. I sold everything, and that was my capital. So I think I started
To start the business.
So I think I started the business with like 15 grand. I think I had $15,000, and that also had to be, what I had to give, my wife, right? I had to make sure that she had money to take care of the family, put food in the fridge, and that money disappeared pretty quickly. I think by the time I had actually paid for everything to make things look like a legit business, I probably only had like $8,000. I had accounting software, I had a laptop, I had, a website, a web address. I had all the things that would allow me to conduct myself as professionally as I could, And then I had a list of products that I wanted to make. And this list has basically grown since 95, right? And, things that have already been made were the first things that got a big red line through them. I'm like, nope. And then I started to realize
something new.
Yeah, I didn't want to do something that had already been done, right?
Got you.
So I'm crossing stuff off the list, and I'm looking at this list. I'm like, shit. There's not a lot of stuff left.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is what happens when you're so late to the game. You get into it, you finally get the balls to do something, and everything has already been made, right? Well, I decided probably not the most understood moment, as far as when I decided to make the things that I did. But I first looked at the least expensive stuff to make. What could I make that was cheap? And I made a couple of parts that cost me dollars, like maybe like $1.50 to $2 a piece. And I made lots of them, and I sold them cheap. But selling something cheap, you got to sell a lot of them to make anything, right? So that didn't work out, but it did allow me to reinvest the money into the next thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing. And it was a very slow process, but it was, if you stick to the plan, you're almost guaranteed success. You
Definitely.
just gotta weather the storm. You've gotta push through that. And I think I ended up with 6 or 7 small parts that became pretty popular. They were pretty well known, and then I had to make a decision. Like, there were products that I had never actually physically touched but I heard a lot of negativity about the stuff. And I thought, well, that was something that was on my list originally. Maybe I ought to go back and revisit doing that, but doing it in the most respectful way I possibly can, and be true to myself as much as possible. So I started to kind of make stuff that was already available, in the sense that if you wanted this, you had another option. That you're getting into maybe a lukewarm industry already, because there is demand for it, and just hope that the product that you produce is different enough and satisfies customers' needs, that you hear a guy saying, oh, he doesn't like this feature, and you hope there are enough of those guys that will embrace your product. Mm-hmm. And sure as shit, I mean, it didn't happen quickly, but it did happen, and it was nice. It was refreshing to hear the positive feedback and people liking what it was that I was doing. And then, obviously getting some of that mixed feedback where people were hating on you because the similarities and some of the stuff that you're producing to other products out there. It got pretty bad at one point. Like I felt like, I don't know if I can keep, this is going to be the success of the business if I keep going this way, but I'm finding more and more resistance. I'm finding a lot of people not liking what it is I'm doing.
The similarities?
Yeah.
Now, where was this feedback coming from?
All over. Forums,
okay.
Social media, Facebook. Facebook first, foremost, and then Instagram.
So what year are we talking here?
This is 2011.
Okay.
2012.
Okay, cool.
And I didn't know what to do about it. I raise kids, and I say things to them that, a father would say, and I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't follow, what it is that I've told them, and being able to stand up straight and really believe in what it is that I'm doing, knowing that, so many people are saying that you copied something.
Gotcha.
And I'm trying my hardest to educate people on that I didn't copy. I've actually physically never even held that item. I didn't take this and then give it to somebody and say, knock it off.
Yeah.
I mean, the application is similar, and yeah, if the two products are similar, that's because, well, they go to they go on the motor the same way. There's only two bolts that hold it.
Yeah.
So you're ultimately going to end up in a very similar product. It's like saying I copied an oil cap. An oil cap is an oil cap.
Yeah, no, I totally understand
so
that.
So it's tough. It was really, really, really tough. And I just kind of stuck to my guns and decided to, just avoid the negativity. I just kept my nose down, kept grinding, and kind of eked out a living. It was tough. I had to go back to work for someone else. I did that on and off. And then, the company didn't see any of the growth that it should have in those years because I was distracted.
Because you're doing your side thing?
Yeah, I was working for other companies and, basically trying to make whatever money I could anywhere I could. And I never gave up on Trac Tuff. It was always, my priority. But in order to make sure that it was going to be successful, I had to step away. I had to find another source of income because I would have just sucked the life out of the brand. Like any money that was available would have been used just to pay bills, and then I would have been broke. And so, doing those things allowed me to continue to operate, and after hours doing whatever I could when I could. And then I hit my stride. I started making stuff that I made for myself, and people just kind of ate it up. They liked it, and it's a functional part, but I think it also answered a lot of people's wants for something different in the show world. So I'm cool with that too.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel good knowing that I'm producing a product that works and not trying to limit who can own it, you know, and now it's turned into a real company. I feel like this last year and a half it's a real company. It's not like BS anymore. You know, it's interesting, you know, how long it took to get to that point. But, you know, now, like, you know, focusing on it 100%, you know, full time, having a real customer base, like loyal customers. It's awesome. It's just such a great feeling, you know, to have people that know how much passion goes into the product and appreciate it. And, you know, now they get to know a little bit of the backside.
So now at this time, do you feel like you have your own lane, you're doing your own thing, and you're not focused on fixing any issues that some other product would have had? Or
yeah, there's a lot of stuff that over time, because this is what I'm going into year 7, and there are products that I'm not interested in anymore. There are products that are more of a distraction, like, you know, even messing with it. I was talking to Jeremy this morning about some products that I'm thinking about just, you know, discontinuing, and he's interested in possibly picking those up.
Got you.
To complement his stuff. I want to streamline the business now to do what it is that people are wanting from me. You know, there's not a lot of products to necessarily fix, but there is room for me to, you know, reduce the amount of distractions that I have. You know, and I think the only thing that I really want to do at this point is make the jump from being kind of Honda and Acura only, and getting into some of the other. I've made a lot of custom stuff for non-Honda and Acura. Most people just don't know that. It's hard to put on the internet. I just don't know enough about the market. I don't know enough about the cars, so I feel like I'm just kind of dabbling.
Yeah.
I want to stop dabbling and, you know, just focus on what it is that I'm currently doing, and then doing it for those other vehicles, other vehicle makes and models, and, you know, kick all the other stuff aside. Just, you know, stop, you know, wasting time with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that's the only thing that I want to do. Like, things are going to change. The business wasn't originally going to be what it is today. If you would have asked me 2 years ago if I thought I'd be doing what it is I'm doing today, I would have, you know, never come up with this conclusion. But, you know, the market kind of dictates what you do. I was just lucky enough to stumble upon something that allowed me to be somewhat successful. So who knows, like in a year from now, it might be something totally different. But I'm keeping my ear close to the ground, and, you know, trying to make sure I don't miss that next thing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's pretty cool. Just knowing that other businesses have gone through the same thing, seeing them go through it makes me a little more aware.
Yeah.
Alert. You know, Radium Engineering. You know them. So, you know, JP, a really good friend of mine, we worked together for years. He wanted to do like turnkey, beautiful packaged turbo kits. That was his thing. He did the BMW turbo kit for Horsepower Freaks. Hugely successful. So he did this one for the Lotus, and it didn't end up working out the way I think anybody expected it to. And he had some components within that end up being what Radium is today. Like,
oh wow,
dude, totally off course. But if you look at what he's done, like that's an inspiration, like huge inspiration to me.
Where are they based out of?
They're in Oregon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Portland, like the greater Portland area.
Got you.
Yeah, that's we don't talk anywhere nearly as much as I would like to, but I know that, you know, he's busy. He's a family man, and he's got a big business to run.
Wow.
But, you know, he's his success and his makings have been a huge example that I try to follow. Doesn't hurt that he's an engineer. So, the cool part about what he did is I think he thought he wasn't going to have the success that he had because he didn't have a salesperson. Mm-hmm. I had an opportunity to move up there and work for him. He wanted me to be a sales guy, and it just didn't work out. But, so you got two engineers just basically banging out great ideas all day long and then putting it out there, and don't need a salesperson. The product sells itself.
Yeah.
So that was an awesome idea. I'm not an engineer, so I don't have that same benefit. I'm a sales guy with an idea and, kind of crafty and, self-taught welder. I've never taken a welding course.
Really?
No.
Wow.
I've just picked up torches, different places I've worked, and, just burned holes in pieces of scrap metal. And when I started being able to get things to stick together, I started doing more and more for myself. And, I'm at where I'm at. I think, it shows me a lot too, just the kind of growth that I've gone through, not just business wise, but, personally.
Yeah.
So the welding part is, it's a pretty important part of my business. And I finally feel like I'm putting product out there that, is deserving of the attention it's getting.
So let's talk about that growth a little bit from the start of the business till now. 7 years
Going
later?
on 7 years in October.
What are some lessons that you learned that maybe you could pass on that info to somebody else that maybe help them navigate around that if they're trying to start their own business?
Couple of pieces of advice. The very first thing I think that, and it's maybe the most obvious to a lot of people, and that's that you got to really believe in it. Whatever that thing is that you're interested in, there's going to be a lot of disappointment. You're going to find a lot of difficult situations, and if you're not mentally strong, you're going to give up way too early. That's one thing I would say is just be persistent. Like you can't just give up because something didn't go your way. Like there's alternatives, there's options. You just got to be methodical about it. You've got to work hard. So work ethic is probably the second most important thing. If you don't like working hard, if that's not something that you're willing to do, then I would say don't even bother trying.
Yeah.
Don't even consider it, because working for yourself isn't easy. It's not what I think my family included think it's like a breeze, dude. They don't understand why I'm never around or why I'm married to my phone. You're not able to work traditional hours. Like when you own your own business and it's in its early years, like you're going to work harder than you've ever worked. If you want to be successful, you're going to have to. Like there's no way around it. Work hours are non-traditional. The reward or the payoff is terrible. So if you're easily discouraged, then you're going to give up again. So, you've got to be mentally strong. You've got to be, physically willing to put in crazy hours. Those are the two things that luckily for me were distilled in me from my father. He wasn't around all the time. Mm-hmm. He was too busy just doing what he had to do. So it wasn't something I wasn't familiar with. I knew that it needed to be done, and that's what I do. But don't celebrate too early. A lot of people try to be something that they shouldn't be yet. Like whining and dining people, acting like you are something you're not. I still don't. I'm pretty tight with my money just because I don't feel like I've arrived yet.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, this is going on year 7 and I still act like it's year 1. So, you know, make sure that those little things that you have accomplished don't get to your head too quickly. You know, like you're successful already. I mean, some people might have success a lot sooner. You know, I guess it all depends on what it is that you're making or selling. You know, there's a lot to be said about that. You know, it doesn't always have to be something tangible. I mean, there are companies that I've seen start after me and are in a much better place than I am, and it just really came down to, you know, their business plan or what it is that they're presenting the customer with. And you know, don't assume that that's what's gonna happen. You're not gonna land on success in year 1.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So I think a lot of people think that as soon as you have whatever widget it is you're gonna sell, that, you know, it's just easy sailing at that point. You know, you just put it out there for people to buy it, they buy it, and you make money, and, you know, it's super. You gotta keep thinking about what's next. You know, the next thing.
Yeah.
You know, you're a great example of that. We've talked about it.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, having all the options that you do, you know, constantly trying to reinvent yourself and making sure that you're in front, you know, that you're the first person that people think of. You know, that's sometimes more work than the physical.
Yeah, man, it's definitely a lot of work, and I know that that's what separates us from not only anybody else in the hardware accessory community, but just any other brand in the Honda community and so on. You know, I put a lot of time and effort into the business, what it represents, you know, coming out with new product, going to shows, you know, customer service. We always get complimented on our customer services. No surprise, because I focus on that a lot, all the time. I'll answer text messages, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night calls, and I'm a hustler, bro. And if you're not built like this, like just don't even compete. You know, do what you're gonna do, stay in your lane, and that's it. But if you ever want to be compared to Downstar or to myself, like, you got some big shoes to fill, because I'm not saying this because I'm somebody special. I'm saying this because I put in that work. Even this, what we're doing right now, you know, we don't make money off of the podcast. But this is something that I'm passionate about, and I see it in the future. Definitely. That it's going to be another business besides Downstar, and this is the grind. And just like you've mentioned about those the recent posts that I've been putting up, I'm like, look, guys, nobody's ever told me this stuff. No one sat me down and was like, hey, Frank, if you want to open your business, this is what you do. This. They didn't tell me shit. And even further past that,
go back and read those posts.
Go read it right now.
I'm telling you, no, he's right. Nobody gave me any of that advice.
No one's going to tell you that.
If you come from a blue collar, you know, working class family, the likelihood is you haven't heard it either, right? My mom and dad didn't even know how to have that conversation with me. I grew up with basically the plan was, you know, you go to school, then you go back to school, and then you get out of school and you go work for someone. That's the pattern.
That's the American dream. That's the life that I should be living right now. I tell people that if you were to tell me in my early to mid 30s that I was going to be traveling for work, I would have a suit on, I would be in first class, and I would have a briefcase. And I would be calling my wife over the phone. Oh, we just finished our business meeting or whatever. Right now, in 2 weeks, I'm going to H Day in New Hampshire. And dude, when I'm out there, I'm eating good, hanging out with friends. You know, I have already 3 podcasts lined up with like people that
that's dope.
I'm excited to sit down and talk with. I'm like, this is my life. And the only reason I have this life is because I built my life how I want it to be.
But isn't it funny how, so to the people on the outside that look in, they think it's easy. You know, they don't know all the hard work that went into that, and they judge a lot of what they see on such a small piece of that puzzle. And I think stuff like this allows you and I to talk about the stuff that no one really knows about, and obviously when you present posts and opportunities for people to learn. I mean, just the basic stuff, like what it is, what it takes to start a business is a huge. That's a huge help to. I don't know how many people out there want to start their own businesses, but having it out there is a lot better than not having it out there.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, I don't think I've read anything similar to that post ever.
Thank you, man.
And the cool part about it is I read it and I'm like, yep. It wasn't like, no, he's wrong there. Dude, like, that's off.
The only people
where do you pull this shit from? Like, you don't need that. No, it was real. It was like, oh, that's exactly, maybe the order might change slightly.
Yeah.
The end of the day, those are the things that you have to have. And then, hard work.
Yeah, and I've had people like on Facebook or whatever that comment, yeah, that's it, but you also need this. I'm like, look, bro, I'm not gonna give you everything. If you want everything, I could be your business manager if that's what you want me to do. Let's go 50-50 on it. I'll tell you how to run everything, and you go do it.
Yeah,
but this is I'm giving you what nobody's ever.
That's a whole nother level.
Like, exactly. Yeah. Dude, nobody's ever giving me any of this stuff. I even say, I have so many friends, quote unquote friends in the industry. Ever since I've started, I've been in it since 2009. People have seen us grow from forums, selling stuff on forums to where we are at now. There's probably less than a handful of people that have ever reached out to me and ever said like, yo, Frank, I respect what you do, but maybe this move wasn't the smartest. Maybe you should have did it this way.
Right.
Or, hey, man, maybe you can, if you're looking to get T-shirts done, I have this guy. Or, hey, you should add more apparel or like accessories to your brand. Or have you ever? Nobody did that shit to me. And
you had to learn the hard lesson.
I had to learn
the whole
all
way
this by myself. I had to learn all this, and I'm just like, dude, if I give somebody the gems to start their own business, they're not going to be my competition because I'm doing my own thing. Even if people are selling hardware right now, we're not the same. I'm in my own lane. And if these guys are selling hardware that is comparable to ours, if they're selling it, that's dope.
Yeah.
If they have a family and they go home and their wife is happy for them, if they have kids, if their kids are happy to see them, if their kids are fed, if their parents are proud of them, dude, why am I going to shit on this dude?
Yeah. It doesn't, not only it's a waste of your time.
Yeah.
First and foremost, but it doesn't get you where you want to go anyway. I mean, not just because it's a waste of time. I get DMs all the time about, oh, well, this guy makes something similar and it's like a fraction of the price. I'm like, well, that's cool. If it fits, buy it. Like, I'm all for it. Like, there are a lot of similar products now to what my core customer or what my core product line is. And I don't know if it always existed or if it's just now, becoming something I'm aware of, but customers are, I don't think they think they're doing me a favor by pointing it out that it exists and maybe I should line myself up price wise to be competitive. And it's like, okay, I appreciate that. I'm sure that, they're trying to do something positive and be a supporter of the brand. But at the end of the day, nobody does what I do. I think that there's something to be said about that, and not everyone's going to be a customer of what I make, but knowing that I take the extra step to do stuff custom. I think everything that I've done in the last 2 weeks, if it's not an off the shelf part, it's something that actually requires feedback from the customer. So I'm not really interested in competing with like a prepackaged product, something that exists that's readily available and it's got mass distribution. Like, I'm perfectly happy with making something one time, for somebody and knowing that, the likelihood is that these other businesses that are set up for like production level manufacturing, they're not going to mess with that. So it's a very niche market. And I think I made a post, and I think you chimed in on that post. It was a while back. It was a couple months ago, several months ago actually, and that was about a friend of mine talking about success, and that he's always he's real hype. He's got a lot of energy, and he's always, I don't know, he's like negged out that I'm not as hype about him, about my future, that he is. Like, he's like super hype. He's like, dude, you're not doing enough. You're not doing this and you're not doing that. And, you know, you could blow up. You could have, you know, you could be rich.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, I appreciate that. I really do. Like, if I had that energy, or if I had that want to be there, then I would, but I'm perfectly happy where I'm at right now. You know, it's like risk versus reward. Like some people don't want to put in that 16th hour to make one more sale at the cost of not being there for my kid.
Definitely.
You know, so, you know, there's a different, everyone wants something different from business. And, you know, as much as I appreciate, you know, all the positive support, you know, sometimes it's just a matter of understanding that I have a plan, and that plan may not be apparent to everybody. But
yeah, and it doesn't have to be. Like we were talking upstairs, is just like, this is your brand. This is going to run how you want it to be. This is what represents you. And the way that you want to portray it, that's on you. Like, you don't have to follow any other business models or anything like that.
which is another great piece of advice.
Yeah, because that's how we've started out, you know. And like I was saying before, everybody's seen the growth of me personally and of the company from when we started, 2009 to 2019, 10 years. If you hear me say these things about competition and things like that, I guarantee there's people that are listening right now and saying that's bullshit, because I remember when you put this company on blast and you embarrassed them or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that was it. But you can't judge me on anything that's happened past 6 months ago, dude.
Right.
I'm changing and I'm evolving every single day, every single month, and I'm taking in so much information and so much data, and I'm just figuring out, okay, well, the way that I used to do things, that wasn't the right way. You know, you can't hold me to something that happened 1 year, 2 years, 3 years ago, because that was a lesson that I learned, and I'm changing from that person.
Well, and it wasn't it wasn't a book that you read. That you go, oh well, this is how you do it. No, oh, page 13 said this is what I was supposed to do. No, there was no book. You're bound to make mistakes.
Exactly.
I've made a lot of mistakes. I made a mistake last week.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to make a mistake this week. So, you know, bottom line is that you learn from it. And, you know, I think sometimes, you know, customers don't want, not customers, but there are people out there that don't want to let you forget about it.
Yeah. And there's people that are in this industry that, that look at the industry as their own, like, Kardashian show. And they want to pump that kind of stuff. Because I'll still get DMs of people screenshotting this or sending it to me. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, oh, that's a nice product. Oh, they did a good job. What the hell you want me to say, dude? I'm right here. I'm doing my own thing, bro. Whatever they're doing.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
That's what I said a moment ago. I mean, there are times where people send me a picture of something that go, hey, yeah, are you aware of this? I'm like, no, honestly, I start my day at 5:30, 6 o'clock. I don't end my day until 5:30, 6 o'clock. I have very, very little time to know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate you showing me, but it's not going to change what I'm going to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what you're supposed to do with that sometimes. Like, you know, is it meant to motivate me? Is it meant to like distract me?
I feel like that's where people are just throwing fuel to the fire. I really feel like that's their motivation. Maybe
they want to see some drama go down.
Definitely, and they know that I fell for that in the past because of how passionate I was about the brand, about the things that I was doing, and like you said, the behind the scenes. Like the last trip that I went on, I forgot where it was, but I went to this trip by myself, and I have 2 suitcases that are exactly 50 pounds because they were both over.
Yeah.
So they were both over, maybe like 15 pounds total. So that 15 pounds is now in my backpack. So I have 100 pounds that I'm pulling. My backpack's probably at least another 30, 40 pounds. And I'm carrying another suitcase as well. And I'm going through, and I'm not thinking about it like, damn, this is heavy. I'm just thinking like, wow, if people really understood what we went through, they would have a lot more respect for me and for the brand than the way that they do talk about us, you know. But it's okay, man. It's not my place.
Well, they only get to see where you are today.
I got to the show,
they don't think about all the stuff in between. You know, I think I had a customer that said something to me. I did get negged out. I was really upset about it. He said something about, you know, the cost of materials and why I'm charging as much as I do for what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm just, I had such a hard time in that following hour. I think I was not productive.
Mm-hmm.
It messed me up, you know, and it sucks that something so simple can jam me up like that. But, you know, it's kind of like what I do is similar to like art. You know,
Definitely.
You have to be creative. You got to be in a positive mindset. You have to be feeling good. You know, if I had one cup too many of coffee in the morning, and if I don't eat at the right time, like it makes a difference in what I put out. So mentally having that weight, that garbage in my head about, you know, this guy saying, oh, well, what I do, it's cheap. It's like, okay, great. I mean, I have a product for you. I make the DIY kits. I mean, there's literally no profit built into those products. Like you want to do the physical part. You want to do the welding, which is ultimately what makes this stuff expensive. It's like buy the DIY kit and do it yourself.
Yeah.
But you know, they get caught on such a small, you know, detail that sometimes, you know, saying those things out loud, hearing it, you know, I don't know, it kind of depresses you. At least it did for me. I'm, and that's the area that I feel like growth wise, I mean, there's business growth and then there's personal growth. I think the area I need to grow more in is just being thicker skinned. I thought I was already thick skinned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to let some of this stuff just roll off of me.
Yeah, it's very hard, man. And we've had personal conversations through DMs about that. And it's just things that I've seen that you're going through that I've gone through before.
Yeah.
Because just imagine all the shit that we went through starting off, and people are saying, why would I buy it from you? I'll just go to Home Depot. I'll just go to my hardware store.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the majority of the people saying that. Yeah. And to me, I'm just like, well, I already sold a few of them, so there's people out there that are gonna buy it. So
it's not
like,
a bad idea.
Yeah, just let me do my own thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you just get the negativity, and still to this day we'll get it. And I'm just kind of like laughing it off because they're like, oh yeah, what are you gonna sell, your cheap ass bolts? And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, that's probably, I think the sweetest part about like what you do, and maybe at some point I'll have the time to do it, and I'll feel just as good as seeing your customer face to face. Like I don't do that. I don't have that face to face interaction. You know, I don't have a retail like storefront. I don't really want that, but I do want to connect with my customers. I want to go to these events, these shows. I will be doing it.
Nice.
The problem is I'm such a huge family man.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like I can't even explain it. Like I have 3 great kids and I don't know what I did right. I just know what I did.
Yeah.
So I'm not willing to change anything. I've got one more kid that's going to go through school. In 3 years, if the market is still where it's at and I'm still doing what it is I'm doing, there's going to be a change. All I'm hoping for is that, you know, I'm not too late, you know? I just can't draw that line in the sand right now and then make my last child pay that price.
Yeah.
You know, so giving up all those experiences and things like that, I want to be in front of my customers. I want to see their faces. I want to shake their hands. It means a lot. And it probably, I can only assume, it means even more when you hear that negative crap coming your way. And then being at an event in front of your customers, shaking their hands, seeing them happy about the purchase they just made. It's like the biggest like high, you know, to just know that, you know, that you had someone that was really negative and was like talking down to you, and it doesn't matter how much or how little you sell, just that one instance, that one thing makes it all worth it. You know, your customers are, when they're happy with what they get, and I get a little bit of that, you know, when they post and they're happy, dude, I feel so good inside. It's awesome. You know, I want to see I want to see that face to face too.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe that could be something that you could implement in your social media, doing more stuff on your story, just doing more lives, things like that, interacting with people, asking questions. That's a lot of the stuff that I do.
Yeah.
Interact. Yo, what am I doing bad? Send me a message. What am I doing bad? What have I done in these last 6 months or year or whatever? What have I done that made you think about the company in a negative way? Because my number one goal is always customer service.
Right.
So if I'm not representing myself, if the customer service isn't well, if the products are taking too long, let's talk about it.
Yeah, don't keep it to yourself.
Yeah, I'm always up to improve.
Right.
I'm always trying to improve, and if there's somebody that can help me out there, I would greatly appreciate that. But
when you post those things, do you get feedback?
Yeah.
I know sometimes you see the feedback in the thread, but like a lot of I read most of the questions that I feel are parallel with a situation or a life event that I'm going through. You've hit some that I'm like, dude, that was timely. Like I'm going through a similar thing, and I read them, and some of the responses are like off track, and then some of them are good. I'm curious, like had I put myself in front of the camera, maybe I need to do that more often, like you're saying.
Definitely.
I don't arrive at those conclusions. I don't know. I'm thinking about it more and more now.
Yeah.
But, just to know that the type of feedback that comes in, are people like honest? You feel?
It's getting towards that because people don't know at first why I'm doing all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I guarantee that there's people out there right now that think that I'm going to come out with my own business course. And, you sign up for $20 a month or something, and we'll have exclusive meetings or whatever, which that would be something that would work. But that's not the reason that I'm doing this. I feel that like I've been given this life that I'm not supposed to have this life at all. And if I can give people tips and tricks to make their life enjoyable and to get to a point where they're having fun every day and not just when their day's off or when they're off of work, like if I can give that to one person, dude, I feel like I'm giving back.
Right.
And even those people that have negative things to say, I know that it's not because of me, it's because of what they have going on in life, and I sympathize with them. To see why do you feel like you would want to have to tell a complete stranger these things?
That's real. I didn't even you get pretty heavy.
Yeah. No, definitely, dude.
I don't even for me to stop and even having come up with that sentence, like that either took a life experience, or like you've had that happen to you. Like for me, I don't think I would have ever arrived at that concept. I don't think I've ever stepped back from what's going on in my own life, in my own situation, to realize like, well, this guy's probably going through some shit. I never thought of that. Like
it's a lot of interacting with people. Since I've had the business, I've had maybe over 100 booths at shows. You get to meet a lot of different people from a lot of parts of the country, parts of the world, different personalities, and you see how people conduct themselves online versus in person. And it's just a lot of stuff for me to take in, and listening to podcasts and things like that. And it just makes me think like I can read people really well, and I could tell when somebody comes at me in a really like negative way. I know it's not because of me, because I'm not out doing negative things to people. If you would have heard that Downstar is a company who scams people, who takes their money, you would have heard it already now. And I always say, like, if you were to meet me in person, 99% of the time that you're going to...
Like, how could you arrive at that?
Yeah, you're going to like me because I know how to navigate, and I know how to make people feel comfortable.
Right.
And no matter how standoffish they are, I'm able to relate with them. If we have something that we can talk about, cars or whatever, we can go from there. But I know it has a lot to do with people's insecurities in themselves. Right. Maybe I don't know much about you building engines, going fast and things like that. And maybe they do. Maybe they're part of the race community. They say, how is this dude's name everywhere? He doesn't know shit. His cars are slow as hell. But you're looking at everything through a jaded lens.
Yeah.
You know, you're not looking at it the right way. And it's the same people who would tell you like, oh, the product, it doesn't cost that much to make. Like, why is it taking them? Well, you know, a piece of steak at one restaurant versus another restaurant, the piece of steak, it could have came from the same place.
Yeah.
But it could be prepared by the same chef. But if it's coming out at this restaurant versus this restaurant spent so much time and money on marketing themselves and having a reputation
Right.
for being this company. How can you compare the two?
There's so many things like the hidden costs. And that's where sometimes I feel like, I don't know, I almost feel like I'm responsible for breaking all that down. And then I step back when I'm about to, and I just stop.
Yeah.
No, you know what? It's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to my paying customers. Like I have a backlog right now of 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, for me to sit down and try to explain it, even though I might want to, you know, I want to break it down just to say, hey, hater, you know, like you're right. There's only $60 in material there, you know, but there's more that goes into that. You know, there's, you know, things that I don't necessarily think I need to explain, but you want to, you know, and that's where sometimes you feel really stuck, you know, when you want to connect with that customer and you want to turn them into a supporter, and sometimes even despite your best effort, they still won't be, you know, and now you just wasted 30-40 minutes of your time trying to turn this guy's perspective around. And so I you know, it's always been something that I read on the internet, and some of the feedback that you get, whether or not it's like genuine or whether you take it like seriously. For me, if I were to read a lot of that, I don't know if I'm grown up enough yet.
It's hard, man.
To use some of that. You
Yeah.
know, I'd start second guessing myself or wondering whether or not like I'm doing the right thing or I'm saying the right thing. So, yeah, it's crazy, you know, obviously communicating on in a way where it's a two-way, you know, that you put something out there and obviously someone can say something about it. You know, it's not like a blog.
Yeah,
you just throw it out there and it's like, this is it. This is all there is to it, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, opening yourself up to that criticism it's tough sometimes. Like,
It's very hard, man.
yeah, and then all the things that go on outside. I feel actually I'm really, really happy with my customer base. Like I got lucky. Maybe not lucky. Maybe this is all by design, but I'm really happy with the people who do business with me. I'm happy that they're happy. And I try to keep that, like that one thing, that feeling that I get when I say that, like I have to remember that, because there are so many times where you read an email or there's a direct message that's outside of public view that you have to deal with. And when it happens publicly, oh God, like I have like the most awesome customers. These guys support me. I don't know why I have so much love, but
Yeah.
you know, if it happens publicly, you know, I don't even have to worry about it. It just kind of gets snuffed out. You know, they come correct. They are the ones that are like, no, that's not the way it is. You know,
Yeah.
customer service is number one with Rob. He takes all that extra time to make sure that, you know, the product is made right, or I'm happy with the product. And when you have someone that says something polar opposite of so many of those positive experiences, you know, it's hard not to, you know, listen to it, right? You know, so that's where I know for sure, like I need to do better. I need to be better about that. Like, so this is, like you said, this guy's going through something. I never really think about that.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I don't think that much deeper. I'm just like, okay, well, the guy came at me like that and I don't know why. And, you know, now I'm trying to deal with it and I'm not dealing with it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the area, like personal growth, that I probably need to do the best, the most, like, just learning how to process those negative comments and or people. You know, it's almost like no big deal. But everything is important to you with a small business. Like that one person, it's not just one person. You got to wonder, like, if that guy feels that way, like, is there another one?
I've had that happen too, where I've had some people who have like a pretty big name in the community try to drag me, and I've seen a lot of people that quote unquote supported me, they just ghosted me.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm just like, dude, you know me, you know who I am, and you know what I stand for, but you might have always had that idea about me in the first place. And then the first example, quote unquote example, that you think you can use, like, oh yeah, I knew that's how he was. But if you're a genuine person, you just keep doing your own thing, and they'll come back around. And they've come back around. But I don't forget who was there through those times, and I don't forget who left during those times. And business is business. I'll do business with everybody, bro. But if you want me to have the conversations that we used to have, you want me to talk to you in a certain way, like, no, you've become a customer now. Sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like, if you had an issue with me, or if you saw something, like, you should have reached out to me, like, yo, dude, that wasn't right, know, or whatever you did. Talk to me like a man. Right. But it never went down like that. So even those situations that happen like that, you always have to look at those as positive situations, because it gave light to those people that were fair weather supporters, fair weather friends. And no matter what anybody says about you or not, if you know in your heart that you're a genuine person, and the things and the moves that you made were genuine, and it was the right thing to do at that time, there's nothing to regret. Yeah. You got to move on, keep on going on. You learn from that lesson, and it's just about growing. And that's, like I say, some of the things that I see that you going through are things that I've went through, and it's a rough road, man. And I've grown up with people talking down on me, shitting on me. I've grown up with not having a lot of friends around, and having to just fend for myself. And at that time, it really upset me, because I'm like, whoa, why am I not going to these sleepovers or whatever? Why am I like, why doesn't anybody want to be my friend? But unbeknownst to me, that was training me for the future and the loneliness of being a business owner. Right. Because you're putting yourself out there, and you're giving everybody else to have a reason to shit on you or to talk down on you. But as a business owner, I can't publicly say anything. I have to just take it, right? Well, so then
that's tough. Too.
It's tough. Yeah. It's definitely tough, but you have to learn how to take it. And dude, it's really been taking me up to shit this past year to actually realize that stuff, And then people that have known you before the business, friends, family, or whatever, they start treating you different. And they start like, oh man, it's easy for you to say, like, dude, you knew me before I had the fucking business. What do you mean it's easy for me to say? When you were out partying, when you were out clubbing, and when I was at home, doing orders, like, it was easy for me then. Yeah. Like, come on, dude, So you have to be the strongest person that you can for yourself, because nobody's gonna feel sorry for you.
Yeah, I know that sounds so selfish, and it's the hardest person to say that to is family. Like, I had a recent conversation with my mother about something very, very similar to that. It was there's never a good time to have that conversation, never, and it's it was funny how it came to be. It was actually my birthday. It was my birthday. I felt a little bit bad because apparently there was something I missed between the lines. It's like she wanted to come over and make me lunch or dinner or something, and I didn't respond to her. And I felt like such a schmuck because, she was in the right place. Her heart was in the right place. And when I finally got around to picking up the phone, which to a mother, that really shouldn't be an issue, right? You want to talk to your son. Your son should be available to you. And I obviously had to explain to her in the long way about business and why I'm so recluse and why I don't come and see her very often. And, parents are getting older, and you want to make sure that, you spend as much time with them, and that they know, you know, I know she knows that I love her. That really doesn't need to be said, I think.
Yeah.
And at least not my relationship with my mother. But when you try to explain the amount of effort and attention that the business requires, that sometimes even on something like, you know, it's my birthday, like how I choose to like totally not do anything or, you know, work long hours on my birthday. It's like, dude, I did that because it's what needed to be done. But so many times I've tried to explain how much the business takes from you, you know, and you know, the few times where you do have free time, you have to really think about how you want to spend those moments, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you not only run the business, but you travel and then you do this. So if you had, say, a small window, it's not an easy choice for you to choose what it is you're going to do with that time, right? I mean, there's a lot of thought, I would imagine, goes into how you spend your free time. And that's the way it is for me, you know. So, you know, telling her, yeah, I want to see you, but the business is really good right now, which means I'm working longer hours, I'm working harder. I don't take, you know, a lot of personal time to step out and make phone calls and stopping in on unannounced and visiting you and having a lunch or dinner or something like that. It sounds like excuses.
Yeah.
You know, I know even saying it sounds like excuses. Like, we could always do better.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the toughest part, is like time management with business and knowing how to pick what you do with those free moments, those little windows that you might have. Like, you know, there's so many levels, like so many people you can disappoint, you know? You can disappoint yourself by not being successful. You can disappoint your loved ones because you're not present and all they want is for you to be around them. I mean, it's not something you should be mad at, you know? They love you, they want you there, and you're not. And it comes you know, sometimes it comes out wrong. You know, they say it in a way that I get pissed, because it's like, well, you know, I'm not doing this on purpose. It's like, dude, this is just what is required of me, you know? So
it's a tough road to go down, man.
Yeah. So there was a lot of lessons to be learned in such a short amount of time. I think I'm doing a pretty good job overall with all of it. You know, there's the worst part about this is just not having gone to school for it, not having, you know, a roadmap to help you get to where you want to go, and just knowing that you're going to make mistakes and hoping that the people that recognize those mistakes are pretty nice to you. You know, like, just don't make me own it. You know, just be nice. Don't beat me.
Yeah. No.
I messed up a couple of times on orders, and customers just ripped into me. And
really?
I'm just like, oh man, like no one feels worse about it than I do. I get it.
Yeah. You know, I fucked up.
It's like every day there's so many chances for you to make a mistake, and you know, you just hope that someone's nice when they understand, like, oh man, I get it. I understand. You know,
yeah.
You just don't want to disappoint anyone, and in the process, you end up disappointing someone. But yeah, that's the ups and downs of.
I think that's a lot
business,
that people miss about business owners, especially small business owners, is they don't understand those kind of things. You know, and that's why I try to be so transparent with my customers and say, like, look, this is not in stock right now. We'll have it in stock at this time. Like, you want to wait, or you want a refund, or what? Like, I'm sorry, dude. This is how shit goes. Well, I need it. I'm like, dude, it's
the world to them in that moment. Yeah. It's really tough to compete with that. You know?
And I try my hardest to satisfy everybody, and it seems like all the time I just always end up getting the shit end of the stick, you know? And just being a business owner is, you have to take those sacrifices. You have to be the one who loses out. all the time, no matter how people think it looks from the outside looking in, you know, all the cars, all the nice shit or whatever. Like, you know, there's reasons why we have those things, dude, is because we put up with so much shit that is hurtful for one human being to make another human being feel like that. It's fuck cars, fuck business, fuck all that, dude. You're making one human being's life worse that day because of how you want to feel, because of this issue that's going on.
I think one of the strongest feelings I have about this industry is that none of what we do is necessary.
Yeah.
None of it. And I've made a couple of comments. It's gotten me into arguments. Like, I had partially an argument with Aki, you know, that time that we had that debate, and I made a comment, and reading through the comments that were made about that was really interesting, and how, I guess, you know, I shouldn't be too surprised, because this industry is filled with, I mean, just look at the demographics, right? You know, how old we are. So sometimes the comments that are said, but it doesn't make it any less disturbing or hurtful. You know, when you have people that are so intense, and to know that a lot of this could have been avoided with, one, better planning, two, you know, just a better attitude, or three, just like knowing that this is just a hobby.
Yeah.
Like, you know, for us, it's business, you know, so it does affect us more than just that. But as the end user, you use your own products. I use my own products. So knowing that these decisions that we make when it comes to the stuff in this industry, none of it is necessary.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't ever really be taken so seriously. You know, that some of the comments that I get, and it's like, dude, you're going to have I made this comment in an email, and it got taken the wrong way. I said, you're going to have a hard life with this attitude.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to say that any better. Maybe verbally, if I was to say it, it comes better, because you sense emotion, or there's a little bit more that you take from it. But in written text, it maybe gets taken the wrong way. But you know, people coming at you with stuff like, oh man, well, you know, fuck you for you know, giving me the wrong ETA on a custom made part. And I'm like, look, hey, I'm really sorry. I don't know how to make this right. Like, it's time, and I can't rewind the clock.
Yeah.
So either one of two things: you're either going to give me the time I need, or I'm going to give you your money back. But they're not dissatisfied with that. They want to really just rub your nose in it. And it's like, oh, well, you know, I've got this K-swap in my car, and this is the car that gets me to and from work to make a living. And I'm like, well, you know what, man? You should have planned better. Or honestly, maybe you shouldn't even have swapped the car, right?
Yeah.
If this is the car you get to and from work for,
yeah.
how irresponsible are you for putting a K in it?
Yeah.
Like, your car didn't come with a K. You blew the motor, put another D in it.
Yeah.
You know, that irritates me so much when people want to like broadcast like their fuck ups on you and make a small fuck up so much bigger.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's funny. Like I keep stepping back. I'm like, none of us should be taking any of this so seriously, because it's meant to be fun.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be fun. But, you know, some people obviously invest a lot more in it, you know, and I don't think they realize that we invest just as much. It's just in a very different way. Like we put our heart and soul into what we do, and so easily it's dismissed, you know, in such a small oversight, like being out of something.
Yeah.
Hey, believe me, being out of something doesn't help me. You know, like, does it make you money when you're out of something?
No.
No.
Yeah.
So if I could fix that, I would, because having it means I'm gonna make money on it. Not having it doesn't do shit for me.
I wish I had infinite,
yeah,
you know,
right? I wish
inventory.
I had all of everything, you know, but so yeah, it's interesting, you know, where you put everything you have into it, and you still don't get it right all the time, you know. And today with you know, with companies like Amazon, you know, providing such excellent service, it's really hard to compete with that.
Yeah.
Expecting to have everything all the time and then having it tomorrow. It's like, dude.
Yeah. I think what really helped me
model.
out, what helped me out with that is just being very transparent with my customers and showing them what we got going on at the shop, what we're doing, you know, that we're doing the podcast, so they know that we have a lot of stuff going on. Maybe that's something that you could do when you're actually burning right there. You could say, hey, tag the guy and say, hey, bro, we're working on yours right now. And then other people will be like, oh, I can't wait to see mine on there. You know?
And that it works. It has, that's definitely addressed the backlog. There were periods in time where I spent more time explaining my delay, and now I definitely see that I'm not spending anywhere near that amount of effort. I think customers finally either one now know through a couple of rants. I think it was funny. Someone said something like, if you see Rob's face in a video, it's never a good video. Like, he's always going to have a bitch. Like, he's going to complain. So this is the first time, like, I've been on camera, I'm not complaining, right? But I'm complaining.
Yeah.
No, but it's actually kind of funny because he says, yeah, like, dude, you just need to kind of train your customer base and teach them that this is the style of business that you're in. And obviously, there's always a state of flux. You're going to get new customers that maybe didn't see that post. So just because you posted it one time doesn't mean that they're aware of it.
Yeah.
Like, you got to repost it.
You got to hammer down on that point.
You got to bring it back to the surface. You got to make sure that it's fresh. But lately it hasn't been so much an issue. Tagging customers in their pictures. I know that with what I do, one of my biggest fears is that what I do is so repetitive that I think eventually, like, looking at my Instagram, it looks like the same recycled shit over and over again. I see the difference. I know that, like, there's a small tweak to it, but if somebody were looking at it, that it all starts to look the same, and it's like, I'll go radio silent. You won't hear from me for 3 or 4 days, and that's because I'm banging out like 5 or 6 or 7 of the exact same things that I made the last time I posted. I'm like, who wants to see 7 of those? So I just don't post. So if I'm ever quiet, that's because I don't feel like my customers want to see that. And, you know, I try to post stuff that's fresh, you know, things that kind of show my best foot forward. You know, and there's not a lot of different content that you're going to see from me. It's just small little changes, you know, and you know, there's
I seen a post from, do you know who Gary V is? Gary Vaynerchuk?
No.
So he's like a motivational speaker, businessman, and he's a beast, bro. You should follow him. But he'll always post up questions that people will have for him. Right. And I think I even saw this today or yesterday. It was I'm trying to build my YouTube channel, but it's so hard for me to think of content. And he said, well, you shouldn't really worry about the content. You should just be worrying about documenting it. Right. Okay. This is the path. This is what it's taking me to get to the point wherever I want to go to. So say in 10 years, people are going to remember, dude, I was following you 10 years ago when you were just busting out those swirl pots or whatever, and you know, you were just telling the small differences that were going on, like that stuff. There's value in that, you know. You really don't want to have to focus on like, hey guys, what's up, today we're doing this, we got this special project, and be like, yo, this is real life, this is what I do. Today I woke up at this time, I'm right here at the shop, you know, it's 7 o'clock at the shop, I'm getting this done. Okay guys, it's lunchtime, I got 5 swirl pots done, I hope you guys have a good lunch. You go to lunch, show what you're having, so people can relate to you. And if there's a fab guy out there that he wants to get into the business, and maybe he thinks like, dude, all I do is just battery trays, like this shit's boring, you know. It's just, no, dude, you could say, okay, now we're packing this one up, this one's going to Bob 805, you know, shout out, thank you Bob, I appreciate your support, send it out. When he gets it, then you repost it, you know, Bob likes it, we built this for him last week, if you guys remember, you know. You just put out that content, and it's just, this is the reality of what it is.
Right.
You know, this isn't a dog and pony show, dude. This is real life. This is what Trac Tuff is.
Yeah.
We build these products, they go to the cars, and now from this scrap metal to what it was, till it's cut down, to you burning it, to you packing it, to the dude getting it, to it being on the car, you could document all of that. And that's just one customer. And you're talking about content for days, man.
I'm gonna end up having to stop working.
I'm telling you, dude. Even if
I'm gonna have to hire somebody just to do what I do,
dude.
Or maybe just like the content. Like, I've seen so many posts recently for jobs where they're looking for like people to manage.
Hell yeah!
Social media
I think
side of the business.
every company should have a social media person.
Yeah, I suck at that, so that would be the first person I hire.
Yeah, guys, if you're listening right now, have you ever Upland?
Upland
Is that if you're in the Upland area, man? If you're a hustler, hit up Rob. But definitely, man, that's where a lot of people are missing out on. And you should post every single day. You should post at least a few times a day, because Instagram knows when you're not posting. When you take 2, 3, 4 days off, your next post that comes up, you're only going to get to a very small percentage.
And
of people.
I've always looked at it, I'm like, dude, all right, they don't like that.
And it's not that.
It's not that.
It's not that. It's that they're sending it to only this much people, and they're the hierarchy. They're saying you're gonna be on our app, and if you're not on our app, nobody's gonna see your shit. So you have to make sure you're on it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts, but it's just the tool that we're given, and we have to figure out how to use that tool correctly.
It's definitely it's an old guy thing. Then
it is.
I was having a conversation with Jeremy Lakovsky, Drag Cartel. This is probably 2 months ago, and he was talking about he just redesigned his website, and he's like, I'm trying to get with the times, and I'm like, dude, I'm right there with you. We sound like two old farts, right?
Yeah,
we're talking about Instagram and you know how we go about our business, and we are definitely we're same age, and we just don't get it. We're dabbling in it. We're finding limited success with it because we don't quite understand it. So it makes a lot of sense to bring that fresh, you know, like we were talking earlier today.
Yeah,
bringing fresh blood in, and someone that understands the market, the customer base. The customer base has changed so different. It's so different from the language. That's where I realized like I'm out of my place. And not that I don't want to do business with them, but I don't know how to connect. That's really, it's really interesting. You know, I remember sitting in the driveway at my parents' house when I was living with them and wrenching on cars when I lived there. And my dad would come out and he'd always be so angry, always so angry. I mean, this is a dude that, you know, big muscle cars, you know, and he saw me working on imports, and I think I broke his heart. He's like, what is this? He did not like it. I mean, my dad's like big white boy, big beard, biker looking dude, you know? And, I took after my mom's side, little, you know, Mexican, you know, dark hair, don't look like I'd have a big white dad. And, you know, I probably made him feel like mad. You know, he's like, oh my God, my son, he's working on 4 cylinders. You know, now it's funny. He comes over and he says, oh, I hear these things are running, you know, in the 8s. And
hell yeah.
Like, a whole different respect, but it didn't change the fact that at that time, I'm sure he was pretty disappointed that I was working on an import, and you know, I was current then, you know, and he was the dinosaur. Yeah, he was out of, you know, like totally out of place. And now, you know, with how this industry's evolved, I mean, that's a long time. This import industry is, I don't think anyone thought it would get to where it is today. I mean, you probably had a few people that felt or knew that it wasn't going anywhere, but there was always that big debate on, you know, how heavy you invested in certain things and whether or not it was going to work out long term. You know,
got you.
Cars were evolving, and whether or not, you know, the industry would be affected by the new vehicle makes and how difficult they are to tune. But you know, it's still, these old cars are just, they're still out there, and people are still finding new ones to modify. But the customer, the language, totally different. Like I feel like my dad now. Yeah, I feel kind of old Like I'm not keeping up with what's going on. And
Well, one thing, at least that your dad wasn't selling parts to imports. You're at least still in the game.
Yeah, right.
You're selling parts to them. They're buying them. They're going on builds that maybe you don't understand why they built it that way or why it looks that way, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
What I always say is that you have to leave emotions out of it. Like a situation is what it is. Whether it's if somebody passes away or something, God forbid, that's the situation we're in now. What that might be an extreme example, but it's like, what are you gonna do about it after this? Right. Whether are you gonna be sad and are you gonna lose your life as well, like lose your potential? And is that what that person would have wanted for you, or is it that person you want to take the gems that they gave you while they were around and you make their legacy keep going on?
Yeah,
you know, and that's kind of how I feel about the Honda industry, is that it's done so much for me that I have to give back to it. And I know that if I don't give back to it, there's a potential that this community is not going to be anything that I can relate to. But if I stay in the game, if I stay current with everything, not only will I still be relevant, I have the power to change the community in whichever direction that I want it
even
to
if
go.
Even if it's just, you know, the small community around you,
me or whatever it could be. You know, I know that like the things that even what we're doing now, this is a start from the things that I was doing in the past couple of years, where I've been trying to interact with the community,
right?
Get conversation going, giving the spotlight to people that have done big things in the past, you know, like that the younger generation wouldn't know. There's not a history book for the Honda community.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think that's the biggest thing that is missing is, and not that even they would want to know it all. I don't even think that as a large majority of the group would even care.
But I think that
it would be nice.
They don't know.
Right.
Just like Downstar, people didn't know what they wanted. They didn't know what they needed because it didn't exist.
Right.
Now it's, you know, whatever you want to think it is in the community, it is something that people want to be part of. Mm-hmm. So they didn't know. So what we're doing with the podcast, Downtime with Downstar, this is something that people didn't even know that they needed. They didn't know that they needed to hear these conversations with people like you or whatever, you know, to get deeper down, to figure out like, oh, yeah, I wanted to know a little more about this guy. He doesn't post much on his social media. I wonder what's going on with him. Like, is he just always complaining about something? Because that's the only time I see him. But now they hear your story. They hear where you're coming from and the way that you think about things. And maybe it puts a different idea in their head, you know? Right. And that's one of the reasons that I want to do this, is I want to be able to have these conversations with people and figure out, like, look, what did it take for you to make your own business? Mm-hmm. And, you know, you tell about the hardships that you went through, the companies that you worked with, and what made it happen for you. Right. And who knows who's listening, if maybe in 10 years they'll have their own business, you know, but nobody's putting out this type of content, and nobody knows that they even want this kind of content.
I definitely say that that's a huge plus, whether or not it was at the front of your want, or if it's just a really solid byproduct. You know, that I think is the part I can appreciate the most, is there is no history lesson, and it's not a matter of like respecting your elders. That's not what I mean by like the history lesson. It's just, it's you know, I think sometimes, you know, customers almost want to know that you live and breathe it as much as they do, you know? And I remember one time I was interacting with the customer, and I wasn't driving my car. I was, like today, I'm driving the family car. Mm-hmm. I usually do that, you know, when it comes to putting mileage on stuff. I drive what's comfortable.
Yeah.
And I was meeting this guy, and he wasn't taking me serious. Like he's like, who are you, bro? You're like, you don't even have a car. Yeah. I'm like, you're right. I don't. You don't know me.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're measured based on these markers that we don't even recognize, you know, like what's your street credit? Like,
Yeah.
like how many cars have you had? Like, oh, well, I didn't know I had to get into that and to you know, make this transaction work.
Yeah.
I thought, you know, just having the product was good enough, but apparently not. So
Yeah.
now we have to sit here and measure our dicks, you know. It's
Yeah.
like, yo, like I had this car and it made this much power, and oh, I had this car, and like, but I had these cars when you were a baby, you know. So
Yeah.
it's interesting that, you know, I think those things are kind of irrelevant, you know, and it's not something you'd ever hear me talk about out loud unless asked, right? So there are things that ultimately people in this, not just me, and I'm sure not just you, there are a lot of people in this industry that want people to know who they are. It just didn't have the mechanism, you know, it wasn't there, you know, and I don't know, at least in the people that I keep around me, they're all relatively, you know, like low ego, you know, they're really happy with who they are. They don't need to broadcast their successes. They're just really chill, you know, but I think that it would be great for, you know, these guys to have a platform to speak on, you know,
definitely
to say, you know, this is how we came about, you know, where we are today. It wasn't an accident, you know, it wasn't a silver spoon in my mouth. It wasn't, you know, like someone gifted me this business and I am who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not quiet because I want to be quiet. It's quiet because I'm exhausted and I, you know, don't have a platform.
Yeah.
So it's actually really cool what you're doing. I think it's,
Thank you.
I think it's awesome. I mean, this is the most outgoing thing I've done ever.
Really?
Ever. Like, dude, to be in this industry for as long as I have, only a few people know my story, like how long I've been around it, how passionate I am about it. My wife is one of them, and she was shocked when she heard I was going to do this.
Really?
She's like, really? Yeah, really? And I think, I don't know how she feels about it, but she almost, I'm sure she's probably proud.
Yeah.
You know,
oh, yeah,
proud to
definitely.
know that you're stepping out of your comfort zone. So, you know, big ups to you for even
Thank you, man.
putting this together. Obviously, giving somebody a platform to speak and, you know, kind of riding the coattail of your success is very gracious of you.
Thank you, man.
You know,
I appreciate it, man.
You didn't have to do this.
Yeah.
You know, and it's awesome to share who I am with not only your followers and viewers, but, you know, to connect with my customer base if they follow you and now they get to know something.
Oh, it's definitely going to happen, man. It's definitely
awesome.
Yeah, this is really cool, and I think that this is something that is lacking in our community. If you look in a lot of other communities, there's podcasts for everything, but it's just that the people in the Honda community, they have an idea in their head that the Honda community is just it's what it is. It's so small. You know, we're in our little niche thing, like, you know, we're just doing our own thing, and like, no, dude, it doesn't have to be like this. One day this podcast could get to be on the level as a Joe Rogan or something like that, because I want it to get there, and I'm going to work my fucking ass off to get it there. And you guys are going to come along just because this is my history. This is where I'm from, you know? And there's people listening or that won't even listen and say, who does this guy think that he is?
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm anybody, but
they're the ones that are really missing out the most, though.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they want to know, but their egos are getting in the way of them learning something.
Definitely.
Something real. Like, this is a moment in time. You know, I'm not going to be the same person I am right now in a year from now. So you could literally, we could do this again in a year and you'd be interviewing a different person. Yeah. So, you know, there's a timestamp on this. This is really interesting stuff, you know, that you get to hear what it is that people, their successes, their failures, you know, what works, whatever they're thinking in the moment, and being able, you're letting that person in, you know, the people that watch this are going to get a little bit of an insight as to who we are.
Definitely.
You know, you a lot more because, you know, you put yourself out there every time.
Yeah.
But for for the person sitting on the other side of you, it's nice. It's a really nice opportunity to share things that otherwise would have never ever come to the surface.
Yeah.
And if somebody didn't watch it, it's not going to matter to me. I'm not going to know it. I'm not going to know that they didn't watch it.
Yeah.
But to have somebody watch it and then be able to relate, and if they learned anything from it, I mean, those are huge takeaways that make me feel good about doing it.
Yeah, and I think that one of the unique traits that I have is I'm always ready to get personal and talk about my downfalls and just let my ego out of the door, because dude, I don't have nothing to prove to anybody,
Yeah.
So say if you're sitting there and me, I'm just like, oh really, it took you that long, how much are you gonna open up to me?
Right.
You're gonna be like, fuck, I just wasted all this time with this dude. But if I'm as humble as I can, want to listen to the story and actually listening, dude, that brings so much value to the guests themselves that they deserve.
Right.
Because I'm so respectful of people's time. And like I said, for you to come out here, I appreciate that a lot. And I want people to listen to this because I want people to, even if they don't buy your stuff, go check it out. Give yourself an opportunity,
This is less about business and more about just breaking down, my experiences.
Yeah.
That's really, really more about it. I think that this was just a real timely, you offering when you did was really important.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Really?
I felt like it was something that people were asking for without actually asking me for.
Yeah.
It was obvious in some of the posts, some of the questions. They didn't just come out and ask me point blank, but the internet it's crazy how big you can become. It's bridged so many gaps. Like it connects you with people that you would otherwise never know. And I think sometimes it's a little scary, to navigate through businesses that maybe the owners of those businesses' heads aren't screwed on right.
Yeah.
And you're going to put your hard-earned money down on something, and people want to feel they want to feel confident that they're doing business with somebody that they like, or they can get behind. And there wasn't enough known about me or what I do, and that's my fault. I say I'm busy, and then I know I also don't make myself available, and I always have excuses for that. And when people start hearing those excuses over and over again, I think it leaves doubt in their minds, or they have to wonder like, who is this guy? He never really comes out of I went to IBOC and I didn't think I was going to be able to go. Mm-hmm. And I usually go out just to shake hands with you guys.
Yeah.
I don't have any real, expectation to bump into the end users.
Yeah.
Because I don't expect them to know who I am. I walk around. I don't wear a company shirt. I'm nobody, and I really don't think I am anybody special. I haven't done anything that deserves any special attention. So when I walk around, I'm usually just walking around to shake hands with the industry people. Just thank them for the support that they send my way, and say hello, and support them.
Yeah.
So I know everything that I've done up until this point was, I don't know that I would do business with me.
Yeah.
It's like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
What's his story? And the few times that I have put myself out there, it hasn't been enough. So it was really, really cool to do. I enjoyed it. Maybe this will start, what you're suggesting, doing something more often,
Yeah, definitely, man.
I have a lot of ideas, but just, I need to execute.
Yeah. When I see companies that have a product that'll pretty much sell itself, it's a great product, but I see that they have more opportunities that they could take advantage of.
Yeah.
Kind of got to figure out why it is, and some of the things that you say is things that I could relate to. But just like I was saying with the content, like, people want to know. What if there's somebody that does want to start their business? What if somebody's just interested on how long it takes? Maybe you could do fun things like a time lapse video of you doing the setup, and then even if you're doing 6 in a row, all right, guys, this one we're gonna see how long the sixth one takes me. So the first one, second one, just do fun stuff like that. You know, there's an audience for everybody, and like. You have the product, man, and you just have to realize that there are people that are going to be interested in what you have to say, even if you're not interested in what you have to say, because you already know what you know. there's no way in inspiring yourself because you already know what you did. You know, I think us doing this was a really good idea, and it gets people to know the brand a lot more, and it'll get new people to go check it out.
Yeah.
And hopefully this does help out and makes you, come out of your shell a little more.
I think so. Yeah, I've never been afraid of the camera. I've never been afraid of, what might come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I think, I think this is probably something that everybody fears, is whether or not the effort was worth the time, if it's something that I got to do on my own, then that's a major investment. We were talking about how much effort you put into this.
Yeah.
And I know that right now there's no way for me to take on something like this, add it to my current list of, responsibilities.
Yeah.
Like something's got to give.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt that it's important.
Yeah.
There is value. I've thought about doing a series on all the DIY products. I mean, obviously, I put a product out there and I'm telling them to do it themselves, but I'm not telling them how to do it.
Oh, yeah.
I assume that if they're interested, then they must know.
Yeah.
But, that's kind of shitty of me.
Yeah, it's just getting to know your clients and your customers, and know what kind of customers that you have, and what are your downfalls. What do people really like you for? You figure out all that, and you work on that. And
exactly.
Like you were saying earlier about like knowing your followers. And when I've been doing all this motivational posts and things like that, at the beginning, you'll start seeing a lot of smart ass answers and just like joking. And guys, if you're listening, I'm probably one of the funniest people ever. So whatever you're going to say is not funny to me at all. So probably just don't even say anything. But to now, like that post that I put up the other day about pretty much the blueprint, if you look through that, there's very few jokes or negativity. And most of it is serious people, because people know that, I'm not about that bullshit. Like it's not funny to me. This is not a joke to me.
Right.
If this is something that you've always wanted to do, here you go do it. If you have any tips or any help that you need, dude, I'll give you suppliers. If you want suppliers, let me know.
Right.
I'll send you my suppliers, because one, I'm comfortable with my brand, that I'm not like, oh shit, you're gonna take over mine. And two, like, dude, if I send somebody else work, they're gonna be appreciative. So maybe if I'm in a jam one day, I'm like, yo, dude, I need to get some shirts done, my guy's gonna take care of me, because I've been shooting him business this whole damn year.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, definitely. I've seen that come back to me so many times already.
Yeah.
Like it's so true.
You put out the good, man, and it'll definitely come back to you. And if it doesn't come back to you, at least you're putting out good. People are putting out.
I can't feel bad about it.
Yeah, people are putting negativity out all day. At least you're one of those that are being the change that you want to see.
Yeah.
But it was so good to sit down with you, man, to hear your story and just to get to know a lot more about the brand.
Definitely appreciate
it. We've only had guys listening. We've only had conversations via DM and through
maybe
text a little bit,
full of face-to-face experiences.
And just not even that much. But it was good to sit down with you in this time to just hear about where you've come from. Like, I didn't know about all your past experiences and the other jobs that you work for, and that it paints a different picture in my mind. So before we go, can you let everybody know where they can find you at?
Yeah, definitely. Most customers follow my Instagram. It's Trac Tuff Rob. That's TracTuff Rob. Had to put the Rob on there to try to make it personal. It used to just be Trac Tuff, and they got no traction.
Do you still have Trac Tuff?
No, that's gone now. I actually just renamed it. So everything that if I were to try to change it back to Trac Tuff, obviously all those hashtags and everything get trashed.
Gotcha.
I was considering it. Yeah, that's probably the most interactive you're going to get with me right now. And then I have the website. The website is www.tractuff.com. Again, that's TRAC. It's all misspelled, so sometimes they land on the wrong stuff. TRACTUFF.com.
Gotcha.
The website has pretty much everything. It doesn't represent all the custom stuff, so Instagram's a good way to kind of get a feel for what I do, and then everyone ends up in the DM or through an email.
Dope, man. Awesome. Any last minute shout outs?
Shout out to Downstar.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate the time, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It was a fun experience.
Thank you. That's my job, man. I want you to leave here smiling, bro. I appreciate it.
Definitely.
And if anybody's listening, and if you guys are interested in the Downtime with Downstar shirts, like I said before, we're not going to post them on the website on the front page under the apparel category. The only way you're going to be able to find it is if you search DTWD. That's all the product's going to be called, and it's going to be hidden on the website. I only want people to have the apparel that actually listen. This is not about making money or anything like that. It's about support.
Sweet.
So if you guys,
little Easter egg, huh?
Yeah,
nice.
Search DTWD, guys. Once again, episode 67, Trac Tuff, Rob, bro. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good day.